Hello, and welcome to another exciting episode of the Comic Book Chronicles. I am your host, Roddycat, and you can find me at Roddycat on Twitter. You can find me at Newsness Need on Twitter, and you can find me at CBCaps on Instagram.
Had to bring it back every once in a while.
I was wondering why you was cheesing so hard just right then. And that voice and sound effects you could hear come from none other than our man in Brooklyn, one agent_70 on Twitter and Instagram.
What's up, everybody?
Where you from?
Going out to all. Going out to all.
Indeed. And you can find this here podcast on the Coastal of the Podcast Network. That's cspn.us.
Do it today.
You could also find this podcast on your podcast portal place of choice, whether it be Google Play, Apple iTunes, aka Apple Podcasts, Spotify, or the Coastal of the Podcast Network's SoundCloud page.
Make sure to hit like and subscribe and follow us to make sure you stay up to date.
Indeed. You can also find us recording every Thursday night, with exception of next week, but we'll get into that later. On the YouTube channel of the Click Nation. That's youtube.com/theclicknation and twitch.tv/Comic Book Chronicles.
Again, make sure to hit like, subscribe, and follow, and hit the notification bell so you know when we are recording.
Oh, yeah. And folks, we are going to get vastly into the comic books of the week, starting off with Black Widow number 12.
Black Widow number 12 is written by Kelly Thompson, with art, as always, by Elena Casagrande. Inks are by Elisabetta D'Amico. Colors are by Jordi Belair, and letters by VC's Corey Pettit. So this is a direct follow-up to issue number 11, which found Black Widow and her newly created support team basically on the hunt. They're pursuing a group of one percenters basically who are behind who are basically crafting a threat to San Francisco, which is where Black Widow has decided to take up residence. And the issue actually opens with a quick I guess a quick flashback, sort of, kind of a dream sequence / flashback, because we get some repercussions that may have come out of the Black Widow looking into the whereabouts of, and this is a spoiler alert, so if you have not been reading Kelly Thompson's Black Widow, you know this is actually a big spoiler for the entire series. So I'm going to ring the spoiler bell here, and just be advised that this particular concept was introduced in this series. So, and it's a big one.
Right.
So I'm going to ring the spoiler bell. Okay, so I rang the bell. Make sure to fast forward. But the bottom line here is that through artificial aging and technology, Natasha was able to essentially give birth to a child and have a husband for an indeterminate length of time. But to her, it seemed like a long time because the kid is a toddler. And as a result of the story, the way the story basically wrapped and took care of the child and the husband, basically Bucky found a way to send them away, basically put them into witness protection with the agreement that Natasha would never, ever try to look for them. But guess what? She did. And so at the very beginning of the issue, we have some of the repercussions that come from that. Not necessarily repercussions, but definitely a conversation between Bucky and Natasha about her looking for them, and what, and where we go from there is going to be a continuing story. So if you pick this issue up and are confused, I definitely recommend, we both definitely recommend to go back to the first arc in this Black Widow series.
Yeah, indeed, and it was good. So you should definitely go check it out if you are you have interest in Black Widow, because it was, and it ended on a very I don't know if bittersweet is the right word, but yeah, it ended kind of weirdly, but also laid the ground for what's going on right now. And yeah, so back into this issue, we after that flashback, we kind of get into the current goings on after the events of last issue, getting some information from a set of Crimson type twins about who's kind of making said noise that Agent 70 mentioned earlier in San Francisco, of which apparently Natasha was like, well, yeah, they probably told them we're coming, so we might as well go in. There's no real use to kind of going undercover. They infiltrate this ball, this gala, which is not unlike the recent gala we were talking about in the pages of X-Men and the like.
Right.
That's going on in that was going on in San Francisco. So they infiltrated to get for what reason I can't remember. Well, I guess they were trying to get to try to find out about the people, like you said. And they come to find out there's a little bit more going on than what they'd bargained for, apparently. And near the end of this, we get someone that apparently is new, but someone that Natasha seems to know about from past dealings. So, and also we come to find out that Bucky is kind of in his feelings coming out of that the beginning of this issue. Not just because of the fact that Natasha went and looked for her old fabricated family,
right?
But I guess his status with her and within the group, because he seemed to be all up in his feelings about it during the course of this,
right?
Which was slightly kind of amusing because they were talking about Clint, and it was like, and all the while all on comms where people can hear him. What were you saying?
I was gonna say, Roddy Cat, have you watched Squid Game yet on Netflix?
Nope, I'm probably one of the one or two people who have not.
Okay, because there is something very reminiscent of Squid Game here, at least mask-wise, let's say.
Oh, okay. Oh, I've seen the mask that the PlayStation looking mask that they have on, and I think I know what you're talking about.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So, but yeah, I didn't think about that at the time when I was reading it.
Right. I mean, it's this particular mask plays a small role in some of the great choreographed, drawn sequences that Elena Casagrande has made a signature of her time on this book, of her work on this book. It is excellent stuff. There's even some dialogue in here where Yelena says, "Next time you wish to use me as a pommel horse, please ask." Right. And I kind of chuckled at that.
Oh yeah, it was a hallway fight, folks. Just straight out of the Netflix series. You might as well say. Which, right. As Agent 70 said, yeah, it was definitely depicted quite well. So and worth the read even if you didn't know what was going on in prior issues, which you don't necessarily need to for this, but you know, like I said, it's worth kind of catching up for that also. But yeah, I thought it was a pretty good issue. I would almost go so far as to say it's a potential click of the week for that sequence and a couple other art choices. But yeah, I'm just kind of curious to see what's going on with that the person that shows up at the end of this.
Yeah, Black Widow is consistent quality. This has been one of the most consistent books that we've been reading between the two of us, and even amongst probably the rest of the panel. If they are reading it, they would probably agree. This is definitely a book that you can actually recommend to folks who are looking to pick up comics, because it is not necessarily completely apart from the rest of the Marvel comic book universe, but it is definitely I don't want to say insulated. Insulated is probably not the right word, but they're definitely giving Kelly Thompson some room to explore this new status quo for the Black Widow out in San Francisco.
Right. It is. It's safe to say that it's definitely almost. It's not necessarily in its own full world, but it's definitely in its own corner of this world.
That's fair.
Yeah. So.
Right. And so with that, it's easier to recommend this to someone who's not necessarily looking to dive into the entire Marvel comic book universe.
Right. Because nothing in here so far has impacted the universe at large, and it probably won't. It's almost safe to say.
Right. I mean, you could quibble and ask, so I thought Bucky was on a trip across the country with Captain America, with all the other Captains America.
Right.
But it's nothing to quibble about.
Well, and also feel like that kind of goes into, well, there's a time frame here that this could have been before that, or it could have been after that. We don't know, and it kind of doesn't really matter. So,
except for the ones who are trying to figure out how it all fits. That's one of those questions that I always get from people who are just trying out comics.
Sure.
So how does this all fit together?
Right.
So,
and sometimes, as we have to do sometimes, and we have had those same conversations on this show, we've had to kind of let go of, because of, we know full well that it's
right. There's only so much, right? There's only so much we can do to fit it in.
Which is actually kind of funny, because I don't know if we're going to talk about it. There is another. We did find out that there is another. That is a connection that we hinted about. That has been confirmed of the time frame of in a couple of cases this week. So there are little things, but sometimes you do tend to think about it.
I mean, we're definitely going to get to that when we get to the X corner of the Marvel Universe.
That too, yes.
But anyway, we will move on from this book.
What's next?
So yeah, let's us go to. I don't know. You pick.
Do you want to touch on Amazing?
Yeah, I guess so.
Only because we don't have that many books in common this week, so we might as well knock these out and then start rapid firing through the rest, or give however much time we want to some of the other books.
Sure.
So we are now about to speak on Amazing Spider-Man number 77. The writer on this issue is Kelly Thompson. The artist is Sarah Pichelli. The colorist is Nolan Woodard. And the letterer is our favorite Python from VC, Joe Caramagna. So we open this issue with a training session between Ben Reilly, who thinks he's Spider-Man, and the Daughters of the Dragon, aka Misty Knight and Colleen Wing.
Yep.
And interestingly, as Roddy Cat just mentioned, in this issue we get a little editorial blurb about when Ben Reilly and Colleen. Actually, no, it's not a blurb. It's actually in the letters column. Is it in the letters column?
No, it was a. They pretty much mentioned in a footnote on one of the panel.
Oh, okay. I couldn't remember.
Right.
I couldn't remember. I remember seeing it quickly, and I'm just searching for it now as I click through our review copy. That's why that's why I was kind of curious.
Right.
But ultimately, what we find out is that the episodes, the issues of Iron Man that are currently that are happening or being printed right now. That's probably the best way to put it. They're being printed now in the pages of Iron Man, in which Iron Man and a bunch of B and C and even D listers are in space on an adventure trying to stop Korvac from acquiring the power cosmic from Galactus's world ship. It turns out that Misty is amongst this crew along with Ben Reilly, Spider-Man, and they make a note in this issue that is where they become acquainted, leading to the events of leading to these events in the pages of Amazing Spider-Man in the Beyond storyline.
Right, because we, if you've listened to the show in the last couple of episodes, yeah, we kind of wondered about that going into this. But when it was like, well, when we know, we even kind of speculated then that that was the case, and we got confirmation of that in this. So I'm like, well, that's a nice touch, even though it's still kind of weird. Also, it was kind of weird to me. It was like, now I know depending on who's writing them and whatever the case, and I know Spider-Man is not like the strongest or or whatever. It was kind of weird to me to see that, and don't get me wrong, the Daughters of the Dragon, no joke. They're good at what they do. They're great fighters. But the fact that they were kind of almost getting the jump on Ben was like, yeah, this is why you're a third rate Spider-Man.
Right.
Because it was like they were just pretty much going at him, and I think he was probably just going off the strength of his spider sense, which granted Peter does too, but still he had, at the very least, in all of his experiences has, or at least it can be said in a way that
Right. Well, depending on the writer, it's always depending on the writer.
Right.
This is one of the things that we as a panel have come to learn over the course of these many years of podcasting, is that it's almost always depending upon what the story that the writer wants to tell,
Right.
And which determines the abilities and the strengths and weaknesses that characters may or may not portray or have. I finally found the note. I realized that it's a note that's not on a page that has Misty or Colleen on it, so I had to just keep clicking and find it. But as we were saying, we essentially catch up with Ben Reilly as he is going through the paces of being trained up, as it were, to catch up to where he should be as the active Spider-Man by the Beyond Corporation. He has therapy sessions with the ironically named Dr. Kafka. Meanwhile, we get a little bit of a check-in with Aunt May and Mary Jane on the condition of Peter Parker. And what's being teased is that Aunt May is going to step away and consult with, and if you read solicitations, we know who she's going to consult with.
Right.
It's something that she has a history with.
Very much not having it with this situation.
Right. And ultimately, she even asks Mary Jane, so, have you tried talking to Stark? And, because of her job. And in this issue, Stark is still off planet somehow, away from Ben Reilly and Misty Knight. So apparently they come back before he does.
Or, well, yeah, because we already know from solicitations and whatnot that, yeah, he's got a power upgrade. So we don't know whether he's going to... We're assuming he's still going to be out in space while they come back to Earth, or either he has come back to Earth and just dealing with the repercussions of what happened out there because of his newfound powers. And that's why he's not picking up.
Go ahead, finish up.
No, I was about to say, and that's why he's not picking up. That's all I was going to say.
Right, and we also get a tie-in with the current events of the death of Doctor Strange, because Mary Jane also says she reached out to Doctor Strange and didn't get an answer, presumably because she doesn't know this, but presumably because he's dead, or at least this version of Doctor Strange is dead.
Right, the present day version is dead, but there is one still around somehow.
Exactly. So, right. So, talk about putting this issue of Amazing Spider-Man directly into context with several of the other events currently being, several of the other stories that are currently being told in the other parts of the Marvel universe.
Right. Another reason why that would even come up, because as of that last arc, Doctor Strange was in this book.
Right.
Unbeknownst to Mary Jane, and I guess maybe I don't know if she did know about that, but he was around. Whether anybody well, Peter knew about it at one point, but after things started jumping off, it was what it was. So.
Mm-hmm. And finally, in this issue, we have Ben Reilly being taken away from a quiet night with his coincidentally redheaded girlfriend. Mm-hmm. To teleport away, you gotta love it. Teleport away to deal with one Michael Morbius, and things do not go well for Ben Reilly.
Yeah, he takes another L.
Pretty much. Pretty much. So we will be back in another week with another issue of Amazing Spider-Man, and we'll see how much longer we decide to stick with this story. I told Roddy Cat this is what they're going to do. They're going to drag out what they're going to do with Peter this entire time.
Yeah, I still think they're gonna go. They're gonna let it go for a minute, but yeah, we'll see. I think there was something that was kind of funny and important to me that happened in this issue. That wasn't mentioned was that we get to meet the. I don't wait. I don't know if she's the head of the Beyond Corps, but she's definitely a higher up person in the Beyond Corps. And there was also a reference to Next Wave. I don't know if Agent 70 has read Next Wave, but if he hasn't, he should.
Only in bits and pieces.
Because there was definitely a reference, and as far as I know, Next Wave is not in this universe, but it has been referenced by Monica Rambeau in the 616. So, but the fact that the reference
was it the Broccoli Men or the
yes.
Killer Drop Bears? Yep. Okay, I kind of figured.
And the fact that and I thought that the person's name was Maxine Danger, to which I thought maybe possibly was the daughter of what ended up to being, spoiler alert, the bad guy of Next Wave, whose name was Dirk Anger. But doesn't seem to be the case, or maybe it will be the case, and we don't know that, but their names are kind of similar, so that's what made me.
Yeah, that's not a bad bit of sleuthing there.
Yeah. So, and the fact that she was the one who made those references, I'm like, wait, how in the world you don't just make those references out of nowhere unless for no apparent reason. Plus, she works for the Beyond Corps, which was the which was all up and through Next Wave. That's why. So every time I've seen Beyond come up recently, I was like, wait a minute, is that going to be a Next Wave reference? And sure enough, there was one in this issue. So that is kind of curious. And even during that whole scene, what was going on in the background of the scene when she was talking to Ben on their little walk and talk, like, yeah, that's the kind of stuff that would have happened in the Next Wave. So I'm very curious as to how much, if anything, Next Wave is gonna, if anything has anything to do with this book. That is the only thing I'm kind of curious about as far as this Spider-Man is concerned. Yeah. Outside of the fact that why in the world are the Daughters of the Dragon working with Beyond Corps, but that's that's a whole nother situation.
The rent is too damn high. That's why.
Man, that's true. Guess you got to go do something. I mean, I'm glad to see them. Don't get me wrong; they deserve their own book. That said, but maybe something's gonna bear out after that. Anyway, we can move on to something else.
All right, so President Bartlett.
What's next?
How about we move over to one of the only other books that we have in common, Inferno Number Two?
We got a couple, but sure. All right, bet. Hit it.
Well, what's the other one? Because other than that, we have Robin and Marauders. That's it.
Well, Moonlight, Robin.
Oh, Moonlight. Oh, I didn't see Moonlight on your list.
Yeah, because I just read it before we.
Oh, okay. What do you want to go with Moonlight?
No, go with Inferno. No, that's the.
All right, I will jump to Inferno because this is yet another book where we're trying to figure out how things place in terms of the current Marvel storytelling timeline. So Inferno Number 2 is written by Jonathan Hickman with art by Stefano Caselli, colors by David Curiel, and letters by VC's Joe Sabino. So this is a direct follow-up, obviously, to the previous issue of Inferno, and we have some machinations that reveal how we got to the cliffhanger page at the end of issue number 1 of Inferno, which involved a reveal that a resurrection had taken place unbeknownst to most of the Krakoan Council, and especially unbeknownst to Professor X and Magneto. And in this issue, we found out how Mystique was able to pull this off. And I had some questions about this. But bottom line, without going through step by step what ends up happening, we get the big reveal as to how At all the steps, we get the reveal of all the steps that Mystique had to undertake in order to get. Spoiler alert here. In order to get Destiny resurrected.
Mm-hmm. So and
no, I was just gonna say, and we find out that the Mystique purposefully resurrected Destiny as a younger woman, just so I guess they could have a longer time together.
Right. To which, yeah, Destiny. Well, I was gonna refer to something in my notes, but I'm not gonna say that. I'm like, Destiny was kind of already not terribly, wasn't, she was old, but she wasn't, she was kind of filled out. But that's beside the point. We do definitely get to see some things that we have seen in other X books, and specifically like Trial of Magneto, because yeah, some of the stuff that we saw that was hinted at or outright saw in other X books was a part of this plan, as it seems. So I was like, okay, so that part we saw in Trial of Magneto, was part of this, and like now that all kind of put together. So it was like, it was good to see that though. It was like, all right, so all of that kind of played together into getting to this point, and like you said, Mystique kind of had her own machinations going on getting into this. So, but this causes Professor X and Magneto to kind of, I guess, shore up their defenses the best way they can by trying to bring Emma Frost into the fold, who, well, I guess given Revelations, we don't know what's going to happen with that, but Emma has always had her own machinations going on.
Right, she's always had her own agenda with a lot of these things.
Right, but now knowing what we've all known since House Hoxpox, what she's going to do, and even they are like, well, have we just made an enemy of Emma Frost? And I was like, I don't even know. So
pretty much,
which leads them to kind of go another route. So that's going to be on the table for the time being, and lead them to go another route to find someone else that they can kind of not necessarily entrust, but I guess in this case use.
Right. Trust and use.
Yeah.
It's a little bit of both. Definitely use, but definitely put on the side of trust. And in order to join the Quiet Council, they're looking to find someone who would be pliable. What's that? I don't want to. Yeah, I don't know about pliable, but definitely someone who they believe is trustworthy. Mm-hmm. On top of being someone they could probably influence. Mm-hmm. I mean, we've all seen this particular character act with his own conscience. Mm-hmm. Going all the way back to Avalon. Mm-hmm. We're talking about like the inception of the Jim Lee, Chris Claremont X-Men. Just immediately after that. Right. So, without spoiling anything here, we just want to remind everyone that it's probably important to read the most recent issue of X-Force, which was X-Force number 24, mm-hmm. which came out last week before reading this issue.
I believe it was week before last?
No, 2 weeks ago.
Yeah.
October 13th. Mm-hmm. Sorry about that.
No, that's fine. That's fine. Regardless, recent, the in the past couple of weeks, and obviously if you are reading X books, you know that there's a reading order in the back of it that you can kind of refer to month to month. So it's sometimes it's kind of good to do that because they have things played out for a reason that way, and this was one of those cases. Like we were talking before the show, I kind of skipped out on X-Force 24, so I didn't. So the fact that the person who, so the fact that wait, did we even say who it was that ends up? Yeah, we did.
No, we didn't. No, we didn't. I didn't want to spoil it.
Okay, so the fact that who ends up being the member that's the last member of the council that shows up at the end of the book, the fact that person shows up, and in that faction kind of comes out of the X-Force book, and I'm just like, wait, what is why? Because even probably I would assume that even if I had read that book, it would still be kind of a curious choice, but maybe not, because like I said, I didn't get a chance to read it. But I will be going back after the show sometime and reading that week's books, because very curious. That being said, though, yeah, Inferno.
I was about to say one thing I wanted to mention. I was very curious as to how, and I've forgotten what Hope's powers are, because that was very convenient for Mystique to impersonate a certain character,
right,
in order to get this resurrection done. And I'm like, did Hope not notice? But there's no telepath here. I forget what Hope's powers are.
She does definitely have telepathic powers. And I think she's
maybe not on the level of Cable or Jean Grey or Professor X, obviously. You know what I mean?
Might be on the level of Cable, because Cable's telepathic powers are not like Jean's. Like yes, he has them, but also in this case, she had no reason to use them, so she would not think to look into his mind. You know what I'm saying? So it makes sense as to why she wouldn't have any thought about anything being crazy about her doing what happened.
Right, but at the same time, there is a presence, a telepathic presence that everyone carries, and that's usually how this particular character gets found out. But then I look at, but here's the thing. Now I'm looking at her powers and abilities, and I don't necessarily see telepathy, and I think this is why.
I feel like it has been said that she has some level of telepathy. I feel
no, she's an amplifier.
Right.
She's an amplifier. She can mimic powers, and she can regulate powers and synergize powers. I'm looking on the fandom page.
That's what I was thinking. That's what
I was about to say that's the caveat. But what my point is that now it makes a little bit more sense as to how the 5 don't realize, in fact, who is standing before them.
Right, but
it makes more sense to me now.
But again,
that
no reason
wouldn't get, but my point being, and just let me finish. My point being, now it makes more sense as to how this particular character's presence goes unnoticed.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, I'm still under the impression like they have no reason to check that, though, because like, why would they?
They have no way to check it. Is more like it in this case.
Even if they did, though, why would they? That's what I'm saying. In given
but there's you know what it is. It's like the telepaths sometimes have a tough time turning off their powers. Yeah. So they can sometimes sense presences, nearby, and like I said earlier, it's up to the writer.
That is also
and in this case, Hickman, right? And in this case, Hickman, I think definitely took advantage of the fact that there are no telepaths in that group of 5 who deal with the resurrections.
Yeah, I don't know. We'll.
No, I'm pretty certain of that.
Yeah, well, like I said, we'll defer because I don't know. Like that. Even
because I bumped on it. That's why I was curious, and I wanted to discuss it very quickly.
Sure.
Because I bumped on it. It's like, how did Hope? And then it took me a while to realize I just needed to look up her powers.
Yeah. I don't know. Like I said, I thought about it for a second, but then I was like, well, that's which brought me to what I thought. So that's, like I said, yeah, who knows? Who knows? You're probably right. I don't know.
It's okay, Roddy Cat.
Like I said, it's not that big of a deal.
It's okay that we didn't know her powers until we checked.
No, I did know her powers to a point, but like I said, but the point is,
I definitely admitted defeat there. I was just like, hey, I have no idea what her powers are. Let me check.
No, because I knew about the synergy part, because that has come up in a couple of times. But like I said, I thought, and maybe it's because she's a Summers, that she might have had some. I feel like she has displayed some level of telepathic powers before, and that may have been because of the nature of her other powers. I don't know, but regardless,
that might have been but that might have been because she was hanging around with Cable, and she was mimicking his powers.
Maybe, but I feel like away from her away from him that has happened. I don't know. Regardless, it's irrelevant at this point. So I still I'm on the thinking that they had no reason to check. So, but regardless, though, we have still a big hot button issue going on here because of the fact that Destiny has been resurrected, which is now on the council. We can definitely say that, and that is that is at the very least going to cause some number of issues throughout the rest of this miniseries.
If right. Well, what we know from Hoxpox is that Moira McTaggart made it an edict to not resurrect any oh my gosh, what's the term for people who can see the future? Seers. Any
yeah.
Any oracle types.
There we go. Yeah. Yeah, specifically Destiny because of their dealings with each other. And that fact. So yeah, right. So she was none too pleased to find out that Destiny's been resurrected. So again, like I said, this is going to be a point going into the rest of this miniseries and past it, more likely. For whatever ends up being the case at this, because I know we got 3 more issues, right? If I'm not mistaken.
This is 5. Mm-hmm. Yep, 3 more.
So.
Yeah, it's a 5-issue series.
Yeah, so I'm looking forward to seeing what goes on here and how this ends up and how it's going to affect the rest of the X Corner at large. That being said, let us move on.
Moving on.
Actually, you know what? We're going to rapid fire.
Sure, rapid fire it is.
I ain't got time to move.
Go for it.
All right, well, let's cover the remaining books that we have in common. Moonlight number 4, it's written by Jed MacKay with art by Alessandro Cappuccio, colors by Rochelle Rosenberg, and letters by VC's Corey Pettit. So I had a feeling that Roddy Cat would enjoy this issue because it guest stars none other than Greer Nelson, a.k.a. Tigra, or Tigra.
Yep.
And they actually say there's actual dialogue in the book about the Wackos, aka the West Coast Avengers. So I had a feeling he would appreciate that.
Oh, absolutely.
But in this issue, we find Mark Spector, Moon Knight, in his Mr. Knight guise, going through another basically mandated therapy session as a result of the Age of Khonshu business in the pages of Avengers. And we find out that a mystery character is manipulating a character who is revealed to be kind of a hacker type who is looking to put Moon Knight out of business literally by hacking into his accounts under the Stephen Grant persona. And ultimately what happens is that Moon Knight is quote unquote manipulated into going after Jigsaw, Jigsaw of the Punisher Rogues Gallery. And what ends up happening is that Moon Knight goes after Jigsaw, but then reroutes himself to discover this computer hacker who is kind of a Jigsaw light. If you look at his image, he's kind of a Jigsaw light. Look at his face. Mm-hmm. What ends up happening is Moon Knight is successful in taking this particular character down. We don't know the complete ramifications of him maybe losing his funding. We don't know for sure. That is left up in the air for upcoming issues. But we end with a little bit of reconnection between Tigra and Moon Knight at the end of the issue, and Moon Knight dealing with some of his, no pun intended, issues.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I've just relented to say Tigra because I have yet to hear anything different especially in animated form, because that has come up. So that's just, yeah. But yeah, like I said, that. So I'm kind of actually curious about whether that whole taking the money thing was actually permanent. Because they're like, yeah, it did happen, and I was like, well, and obviously Mark was like, yeah, I don't care. I'm, this, that, and the other, and da 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 da. But I kind of wondered if there was like, well, maybe he did something about that, and we just don't know, you know, we just don't know about that part yet. Or like you said, whether that is going to become an issue in the subsequent issues. I guess we'll find out. So, but I did like the fact that, but I did like I said, Tigra coming in and basically telling on Mark, to his I guess secretary or assistant. I don't know what to call the girl. And then them
The
talking
vampire.
at the end.
Yeah.
And then them talking at the end. That was all. It was kind of cool. But the issue is all, and the whole Jigsaw issue. I felt like that was kind of like, well, yeah, sure. I know there's other things coming on, but I figured because even David said it during the course of the fight, like, well, since I'm here, like, yeah, I was sent after you, but you know what? Whatever, I'm here.
Right. So the one thing on the money issue is that we know that Mark Spector is dealing with several identities,
right?
And with with this whole multiple personality disorder, and we know that Stephen Grant, if I'm not mistaken, is supposed to be the rich identity, but he may have money also under different names.
Yeah, they
So
made it sound
we'll
like
see how that plays out.
Right, they basically made it sound like all of his other identities had their accounts under. Basically, everything flowed through Stephen Grant, aka the Bruce Wayne of his identities. So yeah, like I said, we'll see how that plays out. Next up.
Next is Marauders number 25 it's written by Jerry Duggan with art by Phil Noto and letters by VC's Corey Pettit. So we are back dealing with this wannabe Mr. T. This is Eden Rixio. And it's basically a fight between the Marauders and this Eden Rixio, who it's a fight between them over a spaceship, and it literally looks very much like a stereotypical flying saucer. And what ends up happening is that at the end of last issue, the Marauders were ejected into the void of space, and that was our cliffhanger. And in this issue, we find out how the Marauders are able to survive. It's a pretty fun procedural, and we get a comment at the end of this once the Marauders take back their ill-gotten ship, apparently, that Bishop is commending all of the tactics used by the Marauders, and if they ever establish a war college on Krakoa, that this is going to be a lesson for that war college.
Right.
And ultimately, this Rixio character gets dropped off on Arakko, where we know we're going to see him again, because it's not like he was dumped into the vastness of space. He was dumped on Mars, aka Arakko, where we are bound to see this character once again.
Right. Two things. I love the cover because it was a callback to, I believe, I can't remember if it was it might have been the first issue of Marauders, where Kate Bishop, Kate Pride. Yeah, I don't know. Kate Bishop was wrong. Kate.
Well, Kate Bishop is another character, right?
I know. But I don't know why I was conflating the two. Regardless, Kate Pride was.
I was about to say we're on the wait. We're eagerly anticipating Hawkeye. That's why.
Kinda. We'll have news on that later. But anyway, we have Emma Frost in the place of the Kate Pride of that same issue in the same stand. So even though it doesn't come to that, because Kate pretty much takes the reins after a certain point in this book, with some help from Emma. But also I know Agent 70 says Mr. T, and I get why he's saying that because of the haircut, but I'm like, nah, this is more of a Lando Han Solo type situation. But also kind of made me think of Hondo Anaka, not only because of the fact that he's like a space pirate type situation, but also the spaceship, which, like Agent 70 said, is kind of a regular UFO thing, but also it's kind of funny in the Star Wars universe that they actually have those ships under those type of ships under Hondo's command. That has always been
That's
funny.
a good point.
Yeah.
Now I'm going to read this guy's dialogue in Hondo Onaka's accent.
Yes. But yeah, that's that. We can move on.
All right, next up, I think in terms of what we have in common, what's left is Robin number 7.
Yes.
All right, it's written by Joshua Williamson with art by Gleb Melnikov and Max Dunbar. Colors are by Luis Guerrero, and letters are by ALW's Troy Pateri. So we are down to, and I think I've missed an issue or two in the reading of this arc, because we're now up to issue number 7. But we're now up to the final 4 of this death tournament. And Robin and Respawn open this issue with a non-sanctioned bout. And we get some revelations revealed to us about the origins of this island, the origins of this tournament, and the origins of the character who is leading this tournament, and a distinct relation to Damien himself. With that, we find all that out in the first half of the book, whereas in the second half of the book, we find that, as we said earlier, we're down to 4 competitors, and by the end of this issue, we find ourselves down to 2.
Wait, was this a non-sanctioned fight? Because we know the tournament was actually going on, and it was pretty much like, hey, pick your partners. And I don't recall there being any kind of specific order to who's fighting.
Well, that could be where I missed an issue. Mm-hmm. My understanding is that they weren't in the arena, and I wasn't sure if that was sanctioned or not.
Oh, right, I got you. I have been reading, but yeah, because this has been coming out month to month, like there's been a lot going on between that. So as far as I know, I think it started off and they just kind of moved away from. I can't remember, but yeah, I know definitely last issue is when the fight started, but I can't remember where it started. So, but as far as I know, it was still in the realms of in terms of the we also get to see a glimpse of who is underneath that mask, and I think we are led to believe to know who that is, and the possible relation to another participant in the tournament. They are heavily hinting at in the pages of this issue.
Gotcha.
So I think that's it.
Okay. So in that case, I will move on to the books we do not have in common. First up is Batman: The Long Halloween Special Number 1. It's written by Jeff Loeb, and story and art by Tim Sale. Colors are by Brennan Wagner, and letters are by Richard Starking. So for anyone who is familiar with Batman: The Long Halloween, that miniseries that turned into a very good, it's a very let's just say it's a long-standing best-selling trade paperback. The Long Halloween.
Would you say it was not necessarily a lesser-known Batman event book, but one that's kind of in the pantheon of his other ones? Kind of there is in the list. It's definitely in the list of his like up there with like Killing Joke and a couple of the others does, but it's kind of on the bottom of that list.
Yeah, it's a little it's a little lower on the list. I mean, Killing Joke is and Dark Knight. Right. Those are the ones that everyone knows. So right. I would say that this is one of the lower tier of that group of stories. And but bottom line is, for anyone who read that particular story, The Long Halloween, this issue is basically an epilogue of sorts. It's a follow-up, and not getting too deep into it because Roddycat may or may not read this at his leisure, but it's an interesting look back into the world of Long Halloween. It's definitely a year 2 or year 3 type of Batman story, because we're still going into the origins of some of the Batman Rogues Gallery. So that is Batman The Long Halloween Special number 1. Next up is Killadelphia number 18. It's written by Rodney Barnes with art by Jason Sean Alexander, with some pencils by Christopher Mitten. Colors are by Luis Nicht, and letters are by Marshall Dillon. So we have gotten to the point where the Egyptian god has basically said, peace out. I can't help you now, but help is on the way, apparently. The mixed bag of human and undead and vampire defenders of Philadelphia are about to make their last stand, including the converted John Adams, converted to the side of the light, as it were, against his wife Abigail and her forces of vampire darkness as they run roughshod across Philadelphia. It turns out in this issue, the Elysium Fields backup story finally catches up to the events of the main story. So this is the last issue of this arc of Killadelphia. So they've been putting it out in 6-issue arcs. So this is the end of the 3rd arc. The next issue of Killadelphia number 19 won't be coming out until, I believe, February of 2022. So you have some time to catch up. But just as a mild spoiler, we're throwing in another supernatural element into the story. And if you have been reading the Elysium Fields backup story, you know exactly what I'm talking about. It's nothing new if you're a fan of this horror stuff or even of Twilight. That's a big spoiler. I don't know Twilight at all, but I understand that these two types of supernatural characters are the main elements of Twilight. Next up is Daredevil number 35. It's written by Chip Zdarsky with art by Stefano Landini and Francesco Mobili, colors by Marcio Meniz, and letters by VC's Clayton Cowles. This issue of Daredevil finds Elektra in her Daredevil role, trying to put an end to the clone multiple bullseyes that are running rampant in New York City and especially Hell's Kitchen. We find that Bullseye himself subtracts from his number, and we find that the main Bullseye is in fact amongst the group of bullseyes running around New York City. And it takes both Elektra and, surprise, surprise, spoiler alert, a recently escaped Matthew Murdock to put down Bullseye. And we're left at the end of this issue with a cliffhanger as to what is going to happen to Kingpin, how the events of this issue may be playing into that Devil's Reign that is the upcoming crossover event that is going to be led by the Kingpin, as well as we get in the next issue teaser image, the possible return of Matt Murdock to the costume. So we may, in fact, be having 2 Daredevils for the price of 1. Next up, and I think this is last for me, is Wolverine number 17. It's written by Benjamin Percy with pencils by Lan Medina. Inks by Cam Smith, colors by Java Tartaglia Tartaglia, and letters by VC's Corey Pettit. So this issue of Wolverine finds the guest star that came in earlier in this Wolverine volume, and that being Maverick, David North, Wolverine's old Weapon X, Team X teammate. And we have some of the background characters that have been kind of in and out of Wolverine playing a role here, especially as it with regards to the CIA's activities in spying on Krakoa. Meanwhile, Wolverine, Domino, and Maverick try to take out some attackers who are targeting Krakoa with some defoliants, some chemical defoliants, as it were, and ultimately they are successful. It seems that Maverick may have his own agenda in this, so we will see where this goes, and that is it for me.
Wait, is that chemical defoliant have anything to do with what was going on in like X-Force with the plants that they were trying to deal with from Krakoa, or no?
I don't think so, but you could be right. I'm not sure.
Yeah, I don't know because I haven't been reading Wolverine. So, and we know, the X-Books kind of tie in a weird way and in all kind of ways. So, let's see. For myself, Wonder Girl number 4, with the creative team of writer Joel Jones, art by Joel Jones and Adriana Mello, colors by Jody Belair. Excuse me, letters by Pat Brousseau. If you get, so the art in this book for the last 4 issues has been, I think, outstanding. With a couple of the names that was mentioned in the creative team, not surprising by that. So it's worth a pick. It's worth a pickup for partial of that. But if you are curious about the Wonder Girl character who ends up being Wonder Woman in Future State, which has already happened, this is set prior to that, obviously. And this is pretty much, I guess an origin story in a way. This is her coming to into her powers. But in this case, real quickly, that last issue she gets invited to Mount Olympus to become Hera's champion. So she undergoes some training in this issue, not unlike you would see probably in a Dragon Ball Z, but not necessarily in the same way. And it kind of doesn't go well at first because Yara's a little headstrong, and so she kind of, her and the training kind of butts heads, not necessarily with the people that's training her, but with the training itself because of her fiery nature, let's say. But that ends up turning around in the midst of this book, and she gets she finds out a little after things start turning around for her. She gets a little family history from someone from her past, which I believe we saw. I can't remember when I've seen this character before. It might have been in the beginning of in the first issue or 2 of this book, or probably in Future State. I can't remember. But regardless, she gets a little family history, but then she ends up making a choice in this book, to which we see her possibly starting to make at the end of this. And we also see her in the Wonder Woman / Wonder Girl, costume for the first time near the end of this. So we'll see what happens. I think we pretty much know what's going to end up happening because of Future State, and possibly because of what's stuff that's been out before, but we'll see. Next up, though, is Deathstroke Inc. number 2. Creative team is Joshua Williamson on the writing, art by Howard Porter, colors by Hi-Fi, and letters by Steve Wands. Which I think that's right. I need to go back and check on that, but we'll go for that. Deathstroke, Black Canary, and apparently Toyman 2.0, as he's calling himself, which kind of looks like Takeshi from Marauders. Which, oh right, I think we forgot about that part. No wait, that was Sword. Sorry, from Sword. But I'll get to that in a second because I don't think Agent 7 has read that this week. Regardless, they're on a space mission for Trust, and apparently, Deathstroke and Black Canary has a stowaway in Toyman 2.0 in the Bat's armor suit, and Cyborg Superman is involved because he's trying to take over a satellite that apparently belongs to Trust, and we get to find out that there's a little bit more to Trust than, not surprising, that we knew about in the beginning of this. That they might have some dealings of their own that may have them at odds with our heroes or anti-heroes in this case. And at the end of this, apparently, Deathstroke and Black Canary get sent after a Wonder Woman villain who apparently has an upgrade in her status that may or may not have come from somewhere. I'm not sure if this has come up somewhere else. Probably has. I don't know. But regardless, that's a thing. Next up, Aquaman and Green Arrow Deep Target number 1. Creative team Brandon Thomas. Art by Ronan Cliché. I guess it's Cliquette or Cliché. I'm not sure. But it's spelled kind of like Cliché with a T on the end. So I apologize for messing up your name if I did. Colors by Ulysses Areola. Letters by Josh Reed. So I skimmed through this book at first, and I was like, well, I wasn't sure what this was about, even though I didn't remember seeing an article on it. But apparently, and I'm just going to go on my notes on this one. So it seems that Aquaman and Green Arrow have done a Freaky Friday, but neither one knows how it happens, which doesn't stop Arthur from going after Oliver about it. Elsewhere in the past, leading up to this, some general named Anderton does The Fly, but with a dinosaur and a time machine. And surely these are connected some kind of way. So at the end of this, Aquaman and Green Arrow are teaming up to find out what has happened to them and why there was a switch in there. And yes, there looks like there's some time shenanigans going on with this that may have led to this thing. So yeah, I think I'm at the very least on. I can't remember how many. Well, I think it does say how many issues there are in this thing. So it's probably like 5 or 6. But regardless, it was kind of curious to me, so I was like, I figured I'd check it out and see what it's about. So far, it's been a pretty good read. Time After Time number 6. Creative team of Declan Shalvey and Roy McInville on writing. Art by Declan Shalvey. Chris O'Halloran on colors. And letters by Hassan Atsmane Alao. Hoping that's how that's pronounced. This seems to be a side story because it definitely doesn't seem to take place in what's going on in the main story. I suspect some of this might end up coming back at a later date, but who knows? But basically, it's a side story that's kind of set in 1990s with a character that I'm not entirely sure that we've seen in the pages before. So there's some syndicate folks looking for this one of their workers named Maloney, who basically tried to do the same thing that Takeshi, or I think that's his name, Takeshi, in the main story is to try to do in that of getting away from the syndicate. But apparently things don't go well for this character and a couple other people in this particular issue. Like I said, whether some of this is going to come back in the main story, I'm not entirely sure, but it was clearly brought up for a reason. So we'll see how that plays out. Next up, Spider-Woman number 16. This is a potential click of the week for me. Let's see. It was written by Carla Pacheco, art by Perry Perez, color artist Frank Darmada, and letters by VC's Travis Lanham. This appears to be an end of this arc, I believe, or at least that's how it seems at the end of this. So going into this, Jess and her niece Rebecca were excuse me. Jess and Rebecca was basically set up to get taken out by Jess's brother's girlfriend, who is a new villain named Rose. I can't remember her last name, but who also has Spider-Woman's powers, thanks to Jess's brother. So basically, this is a big knockdown, drag-out fight between all of them because Rebecca and Jess decide to sneak back into Marchand Industries to cause a little ruckus, and that causes the fight that goes down, and the fight pretty much gets ends up in a way, and not after some bones were broken and whatnot, but nevertheless, yeah, we seem to get the end of this story, or at least seemingly ends of the story for so now. I don't know if that's actually the case, but it's a good read if you've been keeping up with what's going on in that. I know Agent 7 is not really was not really interested in the story about this, but it's actually kind of ends up in a decent way. Let's see. Sword number 9 is my next book.
You can spoil it a little bit, obviously, within the bounds that we usually keep, because I just finished skimming through it.
What?
Sword number 9.
Okay. So, creative team of Al Ewing on the writing, art Jacobo Camagni, color artist Fernando Cifuentes from Portabunker Studios, and letters by VC's Ariana Meyer. So, I don't know if... so you just skimmed it. Did you notice Garrick's makeover?
You mean to make him younger and more anime?
Right.
I mean, that's an artist choice.
See, I thought about that because the rest of the issue kind of seemed like it going that way, but I was like, that's still kind of weird. That was a choice that they made, But it does, like you said, it does kind of fall in line with the art choices that were made in this issue, but it's still kind of weird. So, right. But at the beginning of this, Garrick and James Hudson from Alpha Flight are talking because Garrick's the head of Alpha Flight now, and apparently James Hudson is a part of Orchis now. And they are talking about Wolverine and blah 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 blah. But then cuts to on Arakko, where there's an envoy of Shi'ar hierarchy, including the new queen and Deathbird and the Super Guardians. But apparently there was an assassination attempt by what seems to be by Garrick and the people that he's dealing with in space, which, if you know anything about Garrick, he doesn't really care. The only other thing he's never really cared about outside of superpowered individuals are aliens. But apparently he has found himself, not unlike Orchis has been doing, like, don't really like mutants, but will align themselves when they need to be, and within reason. Garrick has aligned himself with some alien folks, and apparently there's a new lethal legion that ends up going after this envoy, which apparently they were specifically matched up against, because that fight goes away. It's almost kind of a one-sided fight, basically. And some Super Guardians may not be around next year because of this fight.
No. Well, if the Hickman Super Guardian, if Hickman's outline of the Super Guardian program is still in place, they have replacements in line.
Right, but just... yeah, exactly, but not necessarily these people. So yeah, you're
right
about that.
Exactly. That's how I remember it. That there are like a crew of replacements for each type of Shi'ar Super Guardian.
Right.
So,
and I believe they set up the fact that Cannonball might be a possible, because they mentioned something in here about him being kind of like a sub guardian because of his partially because of his relation to one of them. And
right, to Smasher.
Right.
So But yeah, I skimmed this and I needed to go back and reread that part because I skimmed that too quickly about Jimmy Hudson joining up with Orcus, and I'm like, really, dude?
Right. I was like, why? Exactly. And based on, because even he was like, well, I've known, Wolverines for this amount of da 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 da. So it was like, so why did you even join up with Orcus in the first place? Then, if that was so important to you, like, but I guess.
Yeah, I mean that's a characterization that that may or may not turn around when it comes to the way Al Ewing is telling the story.
Right. So yeah, so we'll see if that comes up into anything at some point later on. But regardless, like I said, the crux of this issue was like the fight between the Super Guardians and the Lethal Legion until one Aurora Monroe, aka Storm, happens to come in and take charge of the battle in a way, or at least lends a very big hand, because like I said, it was pretty much going a one-way fight. But at the end,
right, very much. I was about to say, hold that note, hold that thought. It very much is like it very much resembles the Beyond Corporation setup fight between Spidey and Ben Reilly and the UFOs, because in that case, the UFOs knew exactly what to throw at Spidey that wouldn't hurt Ben Reilly. In this case, this new Lethal Legion knows exactly what to throw at all these Super Guardians, but not necessarily what to throw at Storm.
correct,
Because it's all a setup.
right. So, and even including a couple of the mutants that were the Krakoans that were also in attendance, they kind of dealt with at least one or two of them. So yeah, it was definitely set up. But at the end of this issue, just to end this out, we find out that there's a traitor within the midst of Sword.
There's two.
Wait, two?
Right. Well, one is of course Henry Peter Gyrick.
Well, no, he's not with Sword. He's with Alpha Flight.
Oh, I see. Let me not get that twisted, because I forget how the space teams have been divided up. I was under the impression that Alpha Flight had been absorbed, but then Omega Flight is its own thing.
Correct. Well,
Gamma Flight. Gamma Flight is its own thing.
Correct. And they were under Gyrick until they was like, "No, we're not doing this anymore." And
right.
Yeah, what happened in the pages of and in fact, I think at the end of that's when Gyrick ended up becoming the head of Alpha Flight, because it was mentioned in the pages of Incredible Hulk, which Al Ewing also wrote. So,
right.
But so yeah, so this all kind of falls in line because it's all Al Ewing's writing. But as far as I know, yeah, it's only one that I know of, unless there is somebody else back there. But yeah, we definitely know of one that's in the midst of Sword, which has nothing to do with Alpha Flight. So we'll see what happens with that next issue. That being said, because I guess it was the person you'd least expect in that respect, or maybe it's not. I don't know, or maybe there's something else going on. Who's to say? Last but not least, though, Transformers Beast Wars number 9. Creative team of writer Eric Burnham, art by Josh Burkham, and letters by Jake M. Wood. So at the after the events of last issue and Black Arachnia doing what she did with some of the pods in space, she was back at the Predacon base. And everybody else is aware of it. So Megatron kind of takes that and runs with it with his plans to kind of get rid of the Predacons and go back to Cybertron. So they kind of start going along with that plan. One of the Predacons, Scold, who's basically kind of not necessarily put upon, but she's the butt of a lot of the jokes, despite being some of one of the strongest ones there. She decides to kind of go away from the group for a minute and finds one of the pods, and which opens up and ends up befriending one the new Cybertronians that has landed to Earth, but because of the space aliens that are kind of behind the scenes trying to test or whatever, can kind of oversee what's going on Earth. if you know anything about what happens in the Beast Wars proper in the TV program, it kind of falls in line with that kind of stuff.
Mm-hmm.
But they kind of do it. It's definitely been done in a different way. This is, I don't know, like I said, this is kind of a retelling, a reboot of Beast Wars, so it doesn't go the exact same way of the TV show. So that's something to be noted if you are reading this book. But it's still pretty interesting read. But yeah, so we found out a little bit backstory about the Scold character, and like I said, she makes a choice because of what happens to her and this other new Cybertronian that she kind of sort of befriends at the end of this issue, but still also has no, I guess, keeps her allegiance to where it is for some odd reason that she gives, but it slightly doesn't make any sense, but does, I guess, in her reasoning. And that being it for me. So, clicks of the week.
Clicks of the week.
We do not have any from our other co-hosts. So, I guess it's all on us. Again.
As usual.
Mm-hmm.
Every once in a while, we're surprised by clicks of the week from our other co-hosts.
Indeed.
So it happens. So let's not be, we try not to be too surprised when it happens.
But still.
I'm going to go with my initial instinct and go with Inferno Number Two, despite my misgivings about, my initial misgivings about how Mystique was able to pull off her plan. But, upon further review, as we were talking about the issue, I figured out why it made more sense.
Mm-hmm.
So Inferno Number Two for me.
Yeah, like not a bad pick, not a bad pick at all. Hopefully it kind of keeps up the interest as the mini series goes on. For myself, now thinking about the couple of books that I wish I had read going into this, but it's fine.
Like what?
Well, there was a couple other Transformers books that came out. There was Transformers proper that came out, and then there was a Transformers Shattered Glass came out. There was that Darkhold book, Darkhold Blade book, but I kind of skimmed through that, but it was like I can come back to that because it was Blade centered, and obviously those are, like I said last week, those are kind of stories in the world and doesn't seem to have anything to do with that alpha issue, So I don't know how important that Darkhold miniseries is at this point, because it doesn't seem to be any underlying through lines in it. So anyway, that Aquaman Green Arrow was actually ended up reading more interesting to me. As I was going through it, which I didn't think was gonna happen, but I was like, I'm actually kind of curious as to what's gonna happen here. Marauders is what it was, because Marauders is pretty good. I don't know why I'm having such a hard time with this. Like I said, there was some stuff that kind of stood out to me, but not unsurprising from what I've read in here. So it's kind of very funny there, very funny. You know what? Aquaman Green Arrow Deep Target number 1. I'm actually gonna go with that. Surprising.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah. Surprise.
Yeah. It was like I said, the premise is like, that's. I'm curious to see where this goes. Also, that Wonder Girl, like I think I said, that Wonder Girl issue was also pretty good from especially with the art. So that is definitely worth a check out. But yes, that is my pick. And with
Yeah,
that,
there was some interesting. I was about to say there were some interesting like #1 issues that I thought
yes.
about taking a peek at
Hmm.
that came out this week, like that Task Force Z book with the
Yeah.
zombies and Red Hood.
Yeah.
I looked at the first few pages, like, I don't have time for this.
Yeah. And then there was speaking of, there was also that DC and Vampires book that came out this week.
Oh, was that out this week too?
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, which makes it around Halloween time, and I feel like that
Right.
that zombie one's like, well, didn't they kind of already do this with They kind of already did that with a fairly recent mini series, and I think that was also by Tom Taylor. Now that I think about it, if I'm not mistaken. So but it it is what it is. Like I said, this was set the way it was intended to be set. So
Right.
that being said, though, we are going to go into the news section, but first, an ad read.
Our first ad read of the night is for Blue Apron's meal delivery service. Blue Apron, fresh ingredients and incredible recipes delivered weekly to your door. Skip the grocery store and make incredible meals at home with Blue Apron, always shipped free right to your home. And now the listeners of the Comic Book Chronicles can get $30 off your first Blue Apron order. To place your first order with $30 off and to help keep our show free for you, go to our network website at cspn.us. That's cspn.us. Then click on the Keep Our Podcasts free link at the top of the page. From there, scroll down to the Blue Apron link and sign up for your first order. Blue Apron through cspn.us. Do it today. And now we get into the news.
And we start off, like we do every week about this time, with the cinematic news. First up, this is a rumor report, whatever you want to call it. It's coming from a rumor site, so I almost did not pull this, but whatever. A Birds of Prey sequel is reportedly in development without Margot Robbie's Harley Quinn. Not surprising that this would happen if it does happen. And this is coming from that hashtag show, which I'm sure some people know about. I know, sure. Are reporting that Warner Brothers is developing a Birds of Prey sequel. They say that the film has been officially greenlit, but Margot Robbie's Harley Quinn does not be a part of it. But everyone else that was associated with that Harley Quinn led Birds of Prey movie will be, such as Janie Smollett, Mary Elizabeth Winstead, and Rosie Perez. Ours may return. No word on, I guess, the young lady that plays Cassandra Cain. But apparently, it seems here, according to this, it says that Batgirl will possibly also appear in the film, which would make some sense given Birds of Prey canon. If they're following any part of that at this point. So it says there's no script yet, but there's an outline for the film, and the calculator may possibly be the villain. So we'll see if that actually ends up happening. Next up.
As reported by comicbook.com, but not written by our very own Tim Dog 98, Barbara Gordon gets a crazy dark origin story but becomes her own hero when Leslie Grace dons the iconic cape and cowl of Batgirl. The costume crime fighting protege of Batman and the daughter of GCPD Commissioner James Gordon. In this, it's going to again be J.K. Simmons from the Justice League movies. Barbara Gordon has much to prove when she makes her $1 million debut in the HBO Max movie from writer Christina Hodson. Speaking to Elle Magazine or Elle website, I don't know if Elle Magazine's still there. The In the Heights star previewed the HBO Max original movie expected to premiere in 2022. Okay.
Speaking of Batgirl, Brendan Fraser is expected to play the villain in the Batgirl movie. It says not confirmed, but sources believe that Fraser would play the supervillain Firefly in the pick. Jacob Scipio also recently joined the cast, which we talked about last week. With Grace on board to play Bob Gordon, as we know, and the people that are helming the film. So, yeah, I guess Brendan Fraser's having a little moment now. I mean, he's already in Doom Patrol, but you know, just getting some more big screen love lately in a couple of areas. But also, like I said, this picture of him is not necessarily flattering because it looked like he just stepped off the set of The Office.
Yeah.
So, but you know what? People loved him. Some Brendan Fraser. So, respect it. Next up.
DC Fandome apparently tripled its viewership over 2020's event. So the 2021 DC Fandome event saw 3 times, as I said, as many viewers, shattering the previous record with 66 million views. This was, as we reported last week, a virtual convention for all things DC. And the event offered new looks at highly anticipated properties such as the Batman, Black Adam, Batman Caped Crusader, and Gotham Knights. So it's not a big surprise that they had more viewers this time around, even 3 times as many as last year, because they had something that people were anticipating, which was the trailer for the Batman movie.
Basically.
And also they benefit from the fact that we're coming off of the latter part of the pandemic, so many projects have had a chance to be in production as the result of conditions being a little bit better than what we saw at the leading up to the last Fandome.
Mm-hmm. I was going to say that I don't know if Batman Caped Crusader was highly anticipated, considering we didn't know that much about it going into DC Fandome. But now that I think about it, we actually did, because I believe it was announced like last May. But you know, whatever. Hey, it was pretty decent. Like, if you're interested in the news that came out of it and you didn't know it, hey, we talked about all of it last episode. So go check that out in the archives. Next up,
check it out on YouTube.
Yeah, there you go. Michael B. Jordan's Val-Zod series lands Transformers 7 writer. I don't know if that's a good thing or not. Michael, so yeah. This is the other Michael B. Jordan DC work that we knew he was trying to get off the ground. The one that people had much to say about stupidly. Anyway, Deadline reports that the HBO Max series starring Jordan, first announced in July, will be called Val-Zod, confirming its focus on the Kryptonian hero. So not Superman, not Black Superman. Well, granted, he was Black Superman, but still, regardless, like, people are making real stupid remarks on that who clearly do not know about this character. Anyway. Let's see. It says Darnell Medier and Josh Peters will write the limited series. The pair recently penned the script for Transformers Rise of the Beasts, which wrapped production this week. So that's the upcoming new, I guess, Beast Wars thing. I don't know. After Bumblebee, which I still haven't seen. But the rest of the article kind of goes into the history of Val-Zod, as they tend to do, and we have no release date on when this HBO Max series is going to happen, but probably sometime next year. Who knows?
Next up, fans who were floored. Talk about hyperbole. Floored by the season 5 finale of Riverdale won't need to wait around long for answers, as Riverdale season 6 is set to debut Tuesday, November 16th. The trailer dropped for the season and just the other day, and boy, is it a doozy, hyperbole. Unlike the slow start of season 5, which had to quickly finish up the plot lines of the COVID-19 pandemic-shortened season 4, Riverdale season 6 is taking off like a bat out of hell. Shout out to Meatloaf, with a 5-week event guest starring none other than Sabrina the Teenage Witch, played by Kiernan Shipka. Apparently, it seemed odd to this writer that the chilling adventures of Sabrina and Riverdale existed in the same universe in nearby towns, but while Riverdale has long dealt with pseudo-witchcraft, Sabrina deals in actual hardcore witchcraft. Not only is Sabrina guest starring during this event, but by Cheryl's reaction, they know each other. Okay. I hope people who are fans of Riverdale and Sabrina the Teenage Witch enjoyed my dramatic reading of that article with editorializing.
Yes, definitely editorial because obviously Agent 70 and I are not the target demographic here for these
Not at all.
series. So I'm sure there are some folks who were possibly floored by the whatever had happened in that thing. I actually kind of was curious about the Riverdale series. I think I did actually watch the first episode, and I was like, maybe I'll come back to this at some point, but never have, because it's definitely not the Archie book, the Archie rendition that I was expecting. It's more 90210 than it possibly needed to be.
Which means it's a CW show.
Yeah, exactly, and all fully CW show at that. So anyway. Smallville the complete series is not on Blu-ray, so congratulations, folks. For the 5 or 10 of y'all who even remember older enough to remember that show, it's Superman year 1 or year 0 technically. So let's see. Smallville the complete series 20th anniversary edition, a collection of all 10 seasons of the WBCW series. Because lest we forget, it started off as the CW change came partially somewhere in between that show being on the air, which is kind of funny to say at this point. The box set contains all 218 episodes of the show that paved the way for the current CW slate of dramatic superhero series. That may have some truth to it, but there's some pushback on that one. Let's see. Yeah, debuted on August 16th, 2001. Tom Welling was Clark Kent. Michael Rosenbaum, it was Lex Luthor. Christian Krug, Long Lane. Let's see what else is in here. It's out now, so it doesn't matter. I don't know if it's on. I think is it on HBO Max? It doesn't necessarily say here.
I thought it was.
I thought so too, but
I could be wrong.
Yeah, I'm not sure, but it might be
the internets.
Yeah, no, right. But regardless, it's out there if you were or are a fan of the show and interested in picking this up. I don't even see a price on here, but that's probably a good 100 easy.
Yeah, I was about to say that's a lot of television on discs. So that's going to be a little on the pricey side. Were you a fan of Smallville?
I feel like I watched the first season. I don't think I even got through the first season, actually. I know I watched, no, I take that back. I did watch the first season, maybe 2. And I was like, it's all right. It's basically CW Superman before CW type shows were that. Like this is definitely one of those early CW-esque type shows.
Mm-hmm.
And this was with 90210 being around. I think that's still at the time. Was it still around that time? Not I think, or
it might have been right after the end of 90210. I can't recall.
Right, because 2001, it's all a blur, or whatever. But it was kind of that, and I was like, yeah, there's something here, but not really, because it was, and even the budget for it was kind of showing, especially in that first season or so.
Yeah, Smallville is not on HBO Max.
Okay, so there you go. Maybe it'll
be on strategically so, right?
Right. So I'm sure it'll probably come to there. But that being said, like I said, I watched some of it, and I think I checked on it like every now and then, and I don't recall seeing the end of it because I know that's when that 10th season was at the very end of it when he finally ended up in the suit, and they had already kind of set up a Justice League of sorts.
Right.
So yeah, I don't know. What about you?
Right. I had watched it here and there, very much like yourself, Roddycat, where I knew what was going on, and honestly, I was just watching it to check out Kristen Crook. This is well before the revelations in that documentary and in the news about that crazy cult that she and that other actress got into.
Oh, right, the Chloe, yes.
Right. So yeah, that was really my only impetus in turning on this show ever.
Right, and I guess before Eurotrip also.
I don't even recall that, but yeah, I mean, I think she was in that, right?
She was in that.
Right. So, but bottom line is that was my only reason to turn on that show.
Sure. Yeah, I guess.
Hey, I think that was a lot of people's reason to turn on that show.
Yeah, I guess so. I suppose so.
Yeah. She's Hapa. She's half Asian.
Wait a minute. You mean or
No, half Asian Pacific American.
right? No, but you said but she's half Asian. I was
No. I didn't say but. I said and she's Asian, and she's half Asian.
Okay, well, you did say but it doesn't matter.
Oh, did I say but?
Yeah, you did.
Did I say but?
But
I don't all saying but. That could have been my
but I know what
my spittle or something.
But I know what you meant. Yes. No. So
you know, I meant and. I meant and.
Yes.
Damn you, recording. I don't know why I said but.
It's fine. Don't worry about it. Like I said,
I'm gonna explore this now. Why would I say but?
Yeah, that's what threw me. I was like, why would you say but? You know.
Yeah. I wonder if it was because I said but because that was the only reason why I would turn it on. You know, as opposed to being a fan of Superman. That's probably what it was.
Yeah, maybe.
You know, not you know, I wasn't interested at all in a current retelling of Clark Kent. Yeah, you know, Clark's origin.
Especially in the format that it was in, being CW.
Yeah, I think that's what it was. I wouldn't have watched it but for the fact that she was Asian, right. Or at least half Asian.
Right. So, irregardless, yes, I did say that, and I said that intentionally. But I know people were like, "I can't believe you said that." Anyway, let us move.
See, the thing is, you say that more often than you'd probably care to admit.
No, that's possibly true.
And I never harp on it, you know. And I'm just like, oh.
But I've been saying it more intentionally because I know it gets people.
Oh boy.
So,
in any event, all right, moving on. What the hell are we up to now? Stargirl resurrects one hero at the cost of another. Here's a spoiler alert for you. So apparently, after the heartbreak of last week's Stargirl, the latest episode finds a way to bring back one hero, but at a cost. So this is spoilers for episode 11 of season 2, Summer School, chapter 11. So apparently, spoiler alert. It was assumed Dr. Midnight was killed by the Shade. However, as the season has progressed, both of these things proved no longer to be true, with the recent revelation that the two were actually friends and that they are so close that the Shade's willing to give his life for Dr. Midnight. Okay.
Okay. I've not watched not one inch of this show.
You got me.
Yeah. Like, I was, again, out of curiosity, you know, knowing very little about the character, and I guess, you know, Kim Basinger daughter's in it. Not that that's a totally big draw, but I was just kind of curious as to how they handled it, you know, like that, knowing what little I know about the character. But whatever. Next up, Legends Tomorrow. Constantine leaves Zari a cosmic gift, apparently. This is also spoilers for season 7, episode 1, which has recently aired. So it seems that the characters John Constantine and Zari Tarazi were star-crossed lovers, according to this article, from the very beginning of their relationship. And I guess after the revelations, I know we knew that John Constantine left the show. That we talked about that in past episodes. I have not keeping up with any of this. But well, yeah. So he left the show. Something happened, and apparently left behind this other character a gift, and telling her that she'd know what it was for eventually, and that came up in this episode. So, if you're keeping up with Legends of Tomorrow, you probably have seen it by now. I have not. Next up.
In some sad news, Joanna Cameron, known for her lead role on the 1970s DC television series The Secrets of Isis, has passed away. She was 70 years old. Her passing was confirmed on social media by her Isis co-star, Joanna Pang Atkins. Let's see. So we saw she's perhaps best known for her role as Andrea Thomas / Isis on Isis, later retitled The Secrets of Isis, which originally aired on CBS for 22 episodes across 2 seasons from September 6, 75 to October 23rd, 76. I was far too young to understand what was going on. Isis aired as a companion to CBS's Shazam, with the shows being collectively referred to as the Shazam Isis Hour. Shazam's lead character, Captain Marvel, aka Shazam, was licensed to DC Comics at the time. Blah blah blah, yakety schmackety. The Isis character is probably going to be showing up in Black Adam.
Yeah, so that's what I was curious about, whether that was actually going to happen, because obviously the connotations of ISIS at this point, at this current time, you kind of wondered if that was going to happen, but it would make sense, you know.
Well, I think if they do it in the movies, there would be a clear distinction from the acronym that we are all familiar with, and I think that's where the benefit lays, in that the differentiation can be clearly made.
Right, I know, but also the character hasn't been seen probably since 52 that I know of. Since
the DC Comics 52,
right,
or the new 52,
new 52, yeah,
or 52,
or no 52, right, yeah.
I have no idea.
So, right. So this, so when I found this out, like, Rodicat, being slightly older than Agent 70, remembers a little bit more about this show, and of course the Captain Marvel / Shazam show that it was paired with at the time. I remember having clear visuals of clear memories of seeing both of those as probably one of my earlier comic book inspired TV shows back in the 70s. And I think I was like 2 or 3 at the time, so that's weird that would be the thing. But I do remember it, nevertheless, because they played it for a few years, so you know.
I mean, much like Batman 66, I'm sure that was played in syndication.
Oh, absolutely.
And I'm sure I probably bypassed it. I probably bypassed the Big Red Cheese and ISIS in syndication.
So it was on, Saturday mornings, and kind of early Saturday mornings at that. But obviously, we were all getting up very early anyway with our bowls of cereals and whatnot, and watching whatever was on. So, and I do remember this show and the lack of quality therein. But I was like, oh, she was pretty, and outside of our Wonder Woman, Linda Carter, and it was a show that was very much short-lived, but the quality was what it was. But I do remember.
What is this, our Wonder Woman? You mean the Wonder Woman? Shots fired at all the other fans out there. Shots fired. Come at me, yo.
Yes, there are some who would. Gal Gadot is their Wonder Woman, but hey.
I know.
I know you know this is what I'm saying, that for those who know,
who may not understand my my point, the point that I'm trying to make. I get it. All right.
So next up.
You're up next.
Carrie Fisher remembered on birthday by Mark Hamill, Billy Lord. So yes, apparently Carrie Fisher's birthday was in the past week, and Mark Hamill and Carrie Fisher's daughter Billy Lord marked the solemn occasion with tweets on social media. I believe this is from Mark Hamill, who says, "Happy birthday to a very special someone who was never not fun and always highly tolerant of my juvenile on set hijinks. Even when she wasn't in the mood," wrote Hamill on his of his sci-fi space sister, according to this article, along with a picture of them goofing on set. And on Instagram, Lord posted a picture of herself as a baby with her mother, along with a number of emojis. So as folks may know, Carrie Fisher died on December 27th of 2016, which weirdly seems longer than I thought it was.
Well, how many times are we going to say this on our show? Our sense of time is completely screwed up thanks to the pandemic.
Indeed.
So what seems like yesterday was actually 10 years ago.
Yeah, but also 2016 for me was a weird.
Right. So 2016 definitely feels like it was yesterday. And it feels like this just happened, but we've already seen the after effects of this take place. The after effects of this on the Star Wars cinematic universe.
Indeed, indeed. Which wait, does this? I don't remember when it says what date. Oh, October 21st. There we go. So yeah, move right along.
Next up, Warner Brothers Japan and animation studio Bones confirmed that Mob Psycho 100 will return for a third season with a new teaser trailer. The new trailer, which was posted to the series' official Twitter account, features clips of various characters from throughout the series calling out for Mob, who is shown briefly losing control of his powers. So this is an anime I am not familiar with, but I'm familiar with the studio Bones. And apparently, Mob Psycho 100 is the second manga to come from the Eisner Award nominated creator of One Punch Man. Okay.
Yes, and you can kind of tell in the art style in a way. Yeah, I know a lot of people like Mob Psycho 100. I think I probably got through the first episode of it and not really come back to it. Not to saying that it was a bad episode, but it was just like, yeah, I'll come back to this type of situation. But I know a lot of people like it, so
I mean, should I add it to my my list of animes to catch up on?
I knew you were going to ask me that, and I still don't have an answer for you.
Okay.
I would say because of the popularity, you might want to, but I can't say because I haven't really watched enough of it to say one way or the other, honestly, whether you'd like it or not.
Got it.
I did like one. Wait, have you seen One Punch Man?
Yes, I am up to date on One Punch Man.
So it's quite different from that, but I think there's still obviously some DNA in that. So in that respect, you might like it.
Gotcha. Yeah, I mean, the lazy eye gives it away.
Mm-hmm.
The lazy set of eyes gives it away that this is the same creator.
Right.
So it looks like Funimation has season 1 and season 2 and an OVA as well.
Mm-hmm.
So we'll see. We'll see if I add it to the list.
Yep. Bones produced Netflix anime Super Crooks drops electrifying full trailer. Let's see. Netflix Japan has posted a 2-minute full trailer for the forthcoming anime adaptation of Mark Miller, and Leinil Yu's graphic novel Super Crooks. Matanabu Hori serves as the director at Bones, alongside the composition writer Dai Sato and character designer Takashi Matani. All of those notable from other animes that you would know about at this point. In addition to the previously announced Kenjiro Tsuda as the protagonist, Johnny. Well, this is a Japanese cast, so that's less relevant to us as it is. But we assume at some point it's definitely going to come to the U.S. at some point. And it seems that Toei, musician Toei, is doing the soundtrack, which cool. I like his music or their music. Now that I think about it. So see, the 13th episode. Oh, okay. So it is actually going to be on Netflix next month, November 25th. 13 episodes. So there you go. Check that out if you feel like it. Next.
All right, next up, Demon Slayer shows off fiery Tanjiro transformation. So this is mild spoilers for the current Mugen Train arc that is being played out through Demon Slayer. It is an adaptation of the Mugen Train movie. So basically what we see is a fiery transformation that is part of this particular portion of the Mugen Train story, and it is highlighted in this past week's episode. So there's not much to say here because I'm not going to spoil the story, but it's an interesting bit of imagery and animation that you can take a look at in this article.
Kaioken times 5.
Oh yeah. It's not an internal fire. Let's put it that way.
Sure. Yeah, I saw it again. I pulled that article and I was like, yeah, okay, I guess I'm gonna have to catch up with that kind of soon. We'll see if that happens. JoJo Bizarre Adventure unearths first look at Cars Nendoroid. Let's see. In the time before stands were a regular fixture of JoJo's Bizarre Adventures. If you're not aware of what that means, yes, you should catch up with JoJo's Bizarre Adventure. It's kind of batshit. Anyway,
It's on my list. It's on my list. I'm not sure. I'm on a break right now with my anime list watching, so I haven't yet decided where I want to pick up.
mhm.
I don't know if I want to go back to Berserk, like the 97, 98 version, and
Mhm.
to get the beginning of that, or if I just want to start fresh with something else.
I mean, yeah, Berserk's kind of a hard proposition given how dark it gets, so I understand that.
Right,
Well,
and you recall I started off watching the most, like the second half, I watched it out of order, and that just throws me off. So I need to kind of refresh my palate, as it were.
sure.
But go on.
So yeah, I think this is for the current arc of JoJo's Bizarre Adventure. Wait, hold on. In time before stands were a regular fixture. An age of vampires and the power of the. Oh yeah, I forgot about that part. The power of the Ripper reigns supreme in both Phantom Blood and Battle Tendency. And while Dio Brando might get the lion's share of attention as the biggest vampire of the series, the villain Cars was a worthy successor in part 2. Those JoJo fans who know anything of what I just said right now are probably like, or something we don't know. Now the company Good Smile has revealed a new look at the Nendoroid. Actually, this probably should have gone in the other section, but nevertheless, whatever. So this is basically about the toy version of this character. So, for the vampire leader of the Pillar Men, who caused quite a few problems for Joseph Joestar in his younger days. Yada yada yada. Pre-orders are open to the public for this Nendoroid on October 28th, which was today as of this recording. Um, Giving fans of Battle Tendency another piece of merchandise to celebrate the early days of JoJo's Bizarre Adventure before stands before stands showed up. And again, if you don't know what that means, yeah, there were a couple of chapters before it really got batshit. So yeah, doesn't seem to be a price on here, or maybe there is a price on here, but it's in Japanese, so I don't know. And actually, I don't see a price on even in there. But nevertheless, I'm sure if you're enterprising enough, and you will find a way to get this if you are so inclined. Next, you're muted.
Sorry about that. I was imbibing earlier. Drinking, really. It's nothing alcoholic, folks. Netflix's Cowboy Bebop first trailer for the live action adaptation was released, and you can watch it right now. So it gives us a new take on the beloved anime franchise. It carries a style that pays homage to the anime produced by Sunrise, with composer Yoko Kanno returning for this new series to give it the unique flair that made the classic show so well thought of. So it's cast by, the cast includes John Cho as Spike Spiegel, Mustafa Shakir as Jet, and Daniela Pineda as what's her face, Valentine.
Faye Valentine. Yeah.
Faye Valentine. Yes.
Mm-hmm. So one important note to know about this, and I haven't seen this particular trailer, but I do know from seeing other articles because there were other posters and whatnot, and there was an article about Daniela Pineda's favorite character or favorite co-host. No surprise because it's everybody's, because Ein shows up, and that's what I've been waiting for. So I didn't watch this particular trailer, but I'm looking forward to seeing whatever the hell this is. However, this when this shows up next month. Next up, let's see. Miss Marvel teaser trailer arriving very soon, according to a report. So there's a new teaser trailer for Disney Plus's Miss Marvel that may arrive sooner than expected. According to some Twitter account, the trailer will arrive on Disney Plus Day, which is November 12th, This wouldn't be a surprise. I mean, honestly, because I believe we first got wind of the Miss Marvel series last year's Disney Plus day. At that infamous earning call where we found out a whole bunch of other shows that have now cropped up. But the day would also see the reveal of new projects and the arrival of Shang-Chi and the Legend of the Ten Rings on Disney Plus. So, yeah, like I said, this is a report coming from somewhere. Not surprised that this is the case. We'll find out when that actually happens. Next
up, Ms. Marvel merch names new superpower, possibly confirming an MCU change. Oh boy.
Yeah.
All right, so let me get into this, folks. Let me open up this article and see what's what. Right, so it offers up the first official look at Kamala Khan's powers, which look to be different than the comics. So,
yeah, people have had issues with this online.
Yeah, the official promotional poster shows the hero using a new set of powers. The image is officially labeled Crystal Smash, which may offer a clue as to how her abilities will be represented in live action form. Okay. So, yeah, rumors circulated this past summer that Kamala Khan will be sporting a new set of powers. This stemmed from concept art featuring Kamala's hand surrounded by glowing crystal-like aura. Now this new listing from Pyramid International all but confirms that the hero will be connected to crystals in some way. Okay. So we'll see what this change is and whether or not they completely take her away from the Inhumans.
Right. So apparently she won't have her stretchy powers. She may not. Well, I guess we don't know whether she's going to embiggen or not. Which I don't know. I have a problem with that slightly because you would think the tech to be able to do that, as we have seen in the Fantastic Four movies, is possibly not that hard to do, even no matter how it comes off.
Right.
So I don't know.
And her powers are technically different from Reed's.
Sure.
So, you wonder if they're just trying to make her extra different. We don't know yet, but right. I would rather that they stick to the source material in this case.
Agreed.
Including the Inhumans, which I know they've taken a lot of crap because of their failed attempt at a movie and TV series. But, my gut still says you can pull off a more simplified Inhumans if you actually gave it some money and gave it some real effects and told a decent story.
Right. But again, I think, like we talked about prior to the show, I think they're kind of still going away from the thing. They're basically reversing their position, partially probably because of that, but because of the fact that now we have mutants kind of back in the MCU. Well, potentially about to have mutants back in the fold, so they're kind of pushing away from the whole Inhumans thing.
Right. I definitely feel that as well, but I don't think they should. That's my point.
I agree. I totally agree with you on that. So yeah. So
because the universe is wide enough.
Right. But also,
the universe is wide enough for it, but whether or not whether or not they think the moviegoers comprehension will be like stretched too much by like multiple concepts of superpowered people.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know. We'll see.
Yeah, we'll see. Next up, this is actually kind of cool news. Jeremy Renner confirms a major Hawkeye development in the Disney Plus series. So, long story short, he's going to be wearing a hearing aid, which confirms the fact that he is just comic accurately deaf.
Or at least partially deaf.
Partially, yes. Well, still, yeah. It's still now whether they go into that. This is the curious part for me, is like whether they go into how he got it, because I figure that's going to change from the comic book version, obviously.
What was it in comics? I forget.
He, in his first miniseries, he and Mockingbird was going up against Crossfire, and he ended up having to use a sonic arrow to get out of it and cause him to go deaf.
Here I was thinking, although he didn't really show it in Endgame, but when he was basically at ground zero of that missile strike from Thanos' ship, I wonder if let's say that was the cause of his hearing loss, because I don't know if he did any communicating with anyone beyond his earpiece.
Right.
You know, maybe with Nebula.
Right.
You know, and Gamora. That's about it. So it's hard to say.
Right. Yeah, exactly. There's been no mention of that anywhere in the MCU at all. And if that is the case, then that would be how we find out about it. I assume they're gonna address it somewhere in the series. I don't know. We don't know. But the fact that they have it is kind of cool because of the fact that it's, like I said, it's comic accurate. Whether the origin of it is different or not, it's still kind of cool.
All right. Next up, Marvel's What If documentary reveals a sweet origin of Star-Lord, T'Challa's nickname, and a major season 2 tease. I have not watched this yet, so I'm not going to read this entire article.
Yeah, neither have I.
But I know it came out. I definitely saw it on my Disney Plus. I just didn't get around to watching it. Mm-hmm. So the first season of Marvel's What If is over, and just like other MCU projects before it, it now has its own Marvel Studios assembled episode on Disney Plus that delves into the making of the series. I actually watched the Black Widow one, and then I think I saw that the What If one came out maybe the day after. Mm-hmm. So it was very much, soon after. Let's say soon after, because I wasn't logged in or watching when the Black Widow assembled documentary first came out. Mm-hmm. So most of the new 40-minute episode focuses on the history of the What If comics and the core creative team who brought season 1's 9 episodes to life. And there were some insights into the making of season 1 and what we may see in season 2 that will be of interest to MCU fans. And I'll leave it at that.
Right. Yeah. So interestingly enough, when I first caught wind of this article, there was a tease to, I think, as a matter of fact, I believe the article's title had changed for interesting reason, because the byline here was in the title. But nevertheless, we won't get into all of that. I just found that kind of interesting. Pardon me a second here while I pull something over on this side and this right here. Oops, I didn't mean to do that. And next up, boop. Spider-Man Tom Holland explains why he hasn't spoiled No Way Home. Let's just go ahead and say probably partially because of the Disney snipers, but also it says here that the latest issue.
The snipers are out there.
They very much are. The latest issue of Empire is all about the upcoming Spider-Man film. That would be Spider-Man No Way Home. Let's see. The two covers tease the arrival of various villains from the previous films, adding more fuel to the fire that the movie will involve the multiverse and former Spider-Man actors Tobey Maguire and Andrew Garfield. Quote unquote, I didn't know, Holland said about the rumors of a live-action Spider-Verse and more versions of the Spider-Man coming to the MCU. I'm always in the dark. If they are, no one's told me, because of his penchant for spoiling things in the past. It's why they didn't tell him. So the question came after Holland revealed a specific scene in the film will involve a discussion about being a superhero. It's 4 people sitting at a table having a conversation about what it's like to be a superhero. It goes on from there. We're on with some people that would probably be, attached to Spidey at this point. So we don't necessarily need to have to go through the rest of that. But hey, apparently there's a 4th person that we don't get named in this article, and Holland didn't clarify on that. So I guess we'll find out when we find out. When we find out. Next up.
Expendables 4 taps the Raid's Iko Uwais to play villain. According to Deadline, Iko Uwais will play the main antagonist in the Lionsgate film. Uwais is best known for his role as Rama in The Raid Redemption and The Raid 2, as well as Lee Noor and Mile 22 and Hardmaster in Snake Eyes G.I. Joe Origins. Star Wars fans will also remember him as Kanji Club member Razu Kin-Fi in The Force Awakens.
Oh, geez, really?
Uwais is the latest recruit for the new Expendables film, along with Megan Fox, Curtis 50 Cent Jackson, Jacob Scipio, Tony Jaa, and Andy Garcia. They join returning stars Sylvester Stallone, Jason Statham, Dolph Lundgren, and Randy Couture. Okay. So every time I see this guy's name, I just want to sing the Aiko Aiko song. Hey now, Aiko Aiko ways.
Sure. Okay.
Hey, we all have our subconscious ticks here, right?
Sure. Agree.
This is definitely a reference that is probably I'm probably not the only one. I'll be honest. I'm probably not the only one when they see this dude's name, they think of that song.
Probably. I'm happy to see him getting more work, and yeah, we will forgive him for Snake Eyes. Although he did, for as little they used him in Snake Eyes, he had a pretty good turn there. And having just also relatively recently watched the first Raid movie and enjoyed it. Like I said, happy to see him. I did not know he was in Force Awakens, but then again, they really didn't focus on Conjure Club that much.
Conjure Club.
Tell it the Conjure Club. For that one scene that they even mentioned any of that in, so that's kind of funny. Anyway, last but not least in the cinematic news, Masters of the Universe Revelations returns with a powerful trailer for part 2. So I watched this right before the show, and yeah, unsurprisingly, some things get undone that we thought was done, or not necessarily undone, but things don't go fully the way it seems at the end. If you've watched that first part, part of it does, part of it doesn't, and it all leads to something. But the trailer is interesting, to say the least. If this image that you are seeing on the video version, and sometimes you should check out the video version, folks, if you're just watching listening to the audio section portion of the show, you may want to check out sometimes. So yeah, they I guess this next part is going to go places. It feels like they kind of gave away a lot of stuff too that's going to happen, but maybe not. So I don't know. It feels like they could have left some stuff on the table, some revelations, as it were, for what's going to happen in this thing, including something that has to do with this image. But regardless, hey, if you haven't checked, have you seen this?
I have not.
Okay, well, you check it out. You let me know what you think about it, because you did watch the first part, right?
Oh wait, we're talking about the trailer.
Yes, we're talking about.
Yes, I did. Yes. I apologize. The trailer I have.
Okay.
The trailer I have. This trailer with the new quote unquote powerful He-Man.
Yes, the hulked out He-Man. But yeah, like I said, check it out at your leisure. It will be in the show notes. And that, folks, is the end of the cinematic news, and we push over to the comic book news. And we start off with a little toy news, by the way, which comes from Hasbro PulseCon 2021. Power Rangers Lightning Collection is revealed at this event, it seems. So it says here, because of this article, the biggest news of, well, according to this article, I would argue, some would say the next couple of articles would be bigger news to some folks. But the biggest news out of Hasbro's PulseCon's Power Rangers panel fittingly involves giant robots. It's the Zord Ascension project, which won't start hitting full retail for some time. The initiative creates intricately detailed and fully articulated Megazords in the 144 scale, with tiny Power Rangers minifigs that cheat the scale slightly. First up will be the classic Mighty Morphin Dino Megazord, who will stand 11 inches. A special black and gold variant will come with a Power Rangers NFT. Oh, Jesus. Coming soon to Hasbro Pulse. Do they have any pictures of these things? So apparently, let's see, what else is in here? See, a Zeo Cog Army Builder, Dino Charge Pink Ranger, and Wolf Ranger, Dino Fury Red Ranger, and it looks like Power Rangers in Space Blue Ranger on his Galaxy Glider, excuse me. And apparently there's a hint that the rest of the team will be on. Interesting that it's the Blue Ranger and not the Red Ranger, so that's interesting. Which I just found out the dude that played the Red Ranger on Power Rangers in Space is streaming on Twitch nowadays, which is and owns a comic book store. So that's
Okay.
yeah, that's interesting. Or is it a toy store? I can't remember. I think it's a comic book store. Regardless, so I just found that out recently. So that's kind of amusing. Anyway, I believe that is it. Like I said, the other stuff that I mentioned is in there also, and there are pictures to the images to the stuff that was presented there. Next up.
Right. So as Rodicat mentioned, this past weekend was Hasbro's PulseCon, and they announced over a couple of days all of the new toy announcements. One of them was a new Star Wars Black Series HasLab project, and that project is a Rancor that is in scale with the Star Wars Black 6-inch action figures. So this Rancor action figure is going to be the largest Black Series figure to date, standing at 17.5 inches tall with a 42-inch wingspan, 45 plus points of articulation, and more. It is they're looking to hit 9,000 units at a price of $350 on this Kickstarter style crowdfunded project. The project will end on December 6th, 2021. There are going to be 4 unlocked tiers that will be available, one at 11,000, one at 13,500, and then 2 more to come. So this is, if you've ever wanted a Rancor that is in scale with your 6-inch figures, guess what? You're about to get one. It's going to cost you a pretty penny, but you're also going to have some unlocked tiers, so you're sure to get some extra figures with that as well.
Mm-hmm. And if you're again watching the video version, you will see images of said Rancor along with the stormtrooper about to meet his demise, or in one picture, about to meet his demise. Next up,
I was about to say, were I a big Star Wars person, I'd probably want to get this.
Agreed.
350 is steep, but I probably would want to get this.
Yeah. Which is kind of funny for you because considering the
listen, the one that I really wanted was Galactus, and I begged out because I was like, that's just a little too much.
Right, and the decision over not getting that Sentinel.
Well, the Sentinel is not so bad.
Mm-hmm.
I don't feel bad about the Sentinel. It's the Galactus that I'm probably gonna have some non-buyer's remorse. We'll put it that way.
Sure.
Because what'll end up happening is that I pay more for it later on, and then I'll be kicking myself.
Quite frankly. And on that note, here's a recap of the Marvel portion of PulseCon 2021. So it seems here that there will be, all of the following figures will be available in spring 2022 at most retailers, unless stated otherwise, according to this article. Let's see, we start off with the Marvel Legends retro figures, which will be $20.99. Fans will be able to get X-Men multi-pack figures that'll come in with both Wolverine and Phoenix wearing classic costumes. Let's see, this will be available exclusively through Hasbro Pulse. There's also Falcon, Mr. Fantastic, and Venom for $10.99 a piece. And you can see images. You can see the pictures of those characters as I'm scrolling through them.
Yeah, this is the smaller. I'm sure Roddy Cat mentioned it. This is the smaller 3 3/4 inch style scale figures.
I did not, but thank you for saying that. So we move on to the 6-inch Marvel Legends figures that were revealed. There's a new Captain America and Iron Man figures. I believe they're in a set together for $31.49 at Fandom.
Oh no, they're not. They're separate.
Oh, are they? Okay.
Yes, the Iron Man and the Captain America, these retro figures are sold separately.
I thought I remember reading about a set with them two in it, but okay, maybe that's a different thing, or I imagined it probably. So I stand corrected. Let's see. There's a Wolverine and a Jubilee figures based off the X-Men the animated series for $26.99 a piece.
Right. These are renderings right now. They don't have anything solid to show us, but one of the funny things that is included with the animated Wolverine is that framed picture of Scott and Jean Grey that has become a meme for Wolverine to stare at longingly.
Yes. So yeah, scrolling through these pictures, there was a Captain America. There's the Iron Man, complete with a comic book cover backing it appears, or maybe that's a comic book. I'm not sure what that is. And then there's the Jubilee. There's the Wolverine and the aforementioned Wolverine with the picture long, which is always funny to see, and of course the box art. Let's see. There's also oh, that's right, I did see this. I think there's a Scarlet Witch in her West Coast Avengers look. I think the later look, and Vision from his West Coast Avenger look, which I'm going to assume is Blank Vision. Yep, it sure is. We also get
the Blank Vision. I was about to say the Blank Vision is definitely a repaint of older figure, and the Scarlet Witch is a reissue. That is the Scarlet Witch that came out with that came out in the 3-pack with Magneto and Quicksilver.
Gotcha. And there's also a Winter Soldier from Falcon and Winter Soldier. So we see
this is pretty cool because this is a redo of the Winter Soldier figure, the bad Winter Soldier figure that came out with that came out for the movie with Captain America the Winter Soldier. It is redone. They redid the face to look more like Sebastian Stan, and they redid the pew pews, as someone I read online put it. They redid all his guns to make them more realistic.
Gotcha. And there's the Vision, there's the packaging.
And here's the 2-pack that you were thinking of. As you coming up, as you scroll down.
Oh, okay, gotcha. Yeah, there's Sam Wilson, Captain America. I believe that is also a 2-pack with Cap. Looks like from the back of this.
Yes, that is the 2-pack you were thinking of.
No, not this one, because there was I thought I read something about a Captain America Iron Man 2-pack, but
okay.
Yeah, but yeah, this is another 2-pack with Steve and Sam as that, and there is
right. And the good part about this is that they're putting it in with to give everyone a shot at getting another Endgame Captain America, because not everyone was able to get that Endgame Captain America with Mjolnir. Unfortunately, this set does not have Mjolnir in it, but you do get Sam as Captain America, so there's a little bit of give and take with this, but ultimately you get the 2 MCU Captains America, without John Walker.
Thankfully. Yeah, no wings, but we do get the backpack for Sam Wilson's cap. So, next up though.
All right, next up, Disney announces a new cruise line exclusive Avengers show. Imagineer Danny Handke reveals that Disney Cruise Lines' upcoming Avengers-themed dinner theater show will feature major stars from the MCU. Let's see. Handke says he's so excited to share that the stars of the Marvel Cinematic Universe are lending their talents to this first-of-its-kind adventure. At Worlds of Marvel, our guests will be part of a real-life Avengers mission as they watch some of their favorite heroes in action. Paul Rudd as Ant-Man, Evangeline Lilly as the Wasp, Anthony Mackie as Captain America, and Brie Larson as Captain Marvel. Okay. Handke also revealed that Carrie Condon has signed on to reprise her role as the voice of Friday, while actor Ross Marquand will lend his vocals to the villainous Ultron. The Avengers Quantum Encounter show will follow Ant-Man and the Wasp as they present some of the most powerful superhero technologies in the world and demonstrate the latest and greatest advances from Pymtech. Things will get messy when Ultron shows up, and things go from there. I'm looking for a price and a schedule. Price and a schedule. So, Avengers Quantum Encounter is set to debut on the Disney Wish as part of the Worlds of Marvel in summer 2022.
It's funny.
I still can't find a price.
It's funny how they're finally tying him to Ultron, and this is the way they do it. This is funny to me. For those who don't know the origin,
the actual origin, the comic book origin.
Yes, Hank Pym was the one who made Ultron, and not Tony Stark.
Right.
And not off of an AI that he made. But anyway, next up, Black Panther number 3. Oh well, while Agent 70 is still looking for the price of that, Black Panther number 3 will also be 200th issue. From this press release that I'm seeing here, that this January, the 3rd issue of Academy Award winner, winning writer John Ridley and Marvel's Stormbreaker artist Juan Cabal's highly anticipated run on Black Panther will also mark the character's milestone 200th issue. To celebrate, Black Panther number 3 will be an oversized issue with bonus stories celebrating the past and foreshadowing the future of the Black Panther and the world of Wakanda. Ridley will also introduce a new hero who rises up to protect the people of Wakanda while T'Challa finds his life and role as Black Panther thrown into turmoil again. Fans will be able to witness the beginning of this new hero's journey before seeing him become a key player of Ridley's run in future issues. So they're basically going to do what they did. I guess that was Priest run. Well, I guess that's a different also thing where because Black Panther T'Challa became Daredevil for a minute,
right?
So I guess they're doing kind of a similar thing. But I think, not unlike the fact that Shuri took over the role of Black Panther also, but apparently they're not going to do that again. They're choosing for whoever this other new person is. So yeah, we'll see how that is come January. January 26th to be specific. Next up.
All right, so just a few more tidbits on Avengers Quantum Encounter. So it's not, as I was thinking, a live action show with these actors and actresses, or these actors, to put it properly. What it is what this actually is they have designed the restaurant with immersive cinematic technology, including hundreds of screens. I'm taking this off of the Disney Parks blog that this entry was this news is posted on. They've designed the restaurant with immersive cinematic technology, including hundreds of screens and special effects embedded throughout. Filming with the actors has already wrapped, and we are now working on the post-production editing and effects. So, because most of the battle takes place on the upper decks of the ship, they're recreating it in photorealistic CGI, while the real Disney Wish is still under construction. That's the ship, I guess. So this is more like a virtual reality experience.
Gotcha. Okay. All right. Cool. But
yeah, that wasn't clear from the article that we had. So
right.
Although it should have been, because I was thinking, how on earth did they Shanghai these poor folks to be on a cruise?
I thought that when I first saw the article, then I was like, no, there's no way. And then I kind of read through it and I was like, nah, they didn't. But yeah. But I figured they kind of suggested they kind of got them for some video for it or something,
right.
I feel like there's no way in the world they would have gotten all these people just for a cruise.
That would have been nuts. All right. So I got next.
Yes.
The Kingpin endangers many heroes in Devil's Reign. So we have talked about this crossover event coming up in December and January. Devil's Reign, the upcoming Marvel Comics event spinning out of Chip Zdarsky and Marco Cacchetto's Eisner-nominated run on Daredevil, kicks off in December, and come January 2022, all hell will break loose as Kingpin's reign threatens every corner of the Marvel Universe, overtaking your favorite characters in multiple new tie-in series and one-shots. This far-reaching saga will center around Kingpin as he embarks on a vicious quest to rid the world of every last superhero through any means necessary. Good luck, Wilson Fisk.
Indeed. Marvel writer Dan Slott calls The Reckoning Roar his Star Wars, quote unquote, a combination of his career and fandom. So yeah, this is so as we know, in the pages of Fantastic Four, Reckoning War is coming up, and then Slott is writing it because he is the writer of Fantastic Four. It says here the spring event will feature the Fantastic Four, She-Hulk, Silver Surfer, Jack of Hearts, who's been long since dead in the pages of Marvel, actually, the Watcher, and the original Nick Fury, who has been in purgatory of sorts as the Unseen for the past few years. The storyline will then continue in the ongoing Fantastic Four book, beginning with January's Fantastic Four number 40, with an arc drawn by Rachel Stott. And yeah, this was originally announced in August of 2021 as a massive rollout of 8 Marvel tentpole titles of 2022. And according to this article, Reckoning War would be a major storyline in Slott's current Fantastic Four run, which we already know. Let's see, kicked off by a lead-in one-shot, Fantastic Four: The Reckoning War Alpha number 1, drawn by Carlos Pacheco. So yeah. Says it was originally teased as the rekindling of Marvel's original Secret War. So Slott says that they're not referring to any of the Secret Wars the fans know of, but something much, much older. And I'm just going to let that sit from where it is, because we'll find out, you can read this article if you want to know a little bit more about that. But, ever since I found out about this, been kind of curious about it. I feel like we have seeds of what is going to be entailed in this, but there's a lot we still don't know. So, but this whole Jack of Hearts thing, which is kind of interesting, because he died in
Disassembled.
Disassembled, yeah.
But I just looked up something, and I'm sending it over to Roddy Cat as we speak. You'll hear the sound effect in a second.
Ah, okay.
Right. So if you pull that open, if you click on that and you open it, there is a section here on his revival, and apparently it happened in the pages of a Marvel Zombies book.
Really?
So I am not sure how this ties into regular Marvel continuity.
Yeah, maybe we'll find out. Oh wait, will later be brought back to life by Project Prejudice using Z energy to provide Squadron Supreme.
Right. If you look at the footnote, it was a Marvel Zombies issue.
Right.
Marvel Zombies Supreme issue.
So Project Pegasus once again reared its ugly head, and yeah, interesting, I guess. Jack of Hearts is never a character I was big on, even when he was on the Avengers. But somebody's gonna.
Hey, we haven't seen. I was about to say, we haven't seen him much since then. This is not a recent story.
Right.
This Jack of Hearts story.
Right.
I mean, the Zombie Supreme miniseries. I don't know what year this is, but it's definitely not recent.
Yeah, I guess I gotta click through and find that out, but I kind of don't care, especially since you mentioned zombies. So yeah. I guess I'm sure there's going to be some recalling of his death in Disassembled, and because I believe She-Hulk was there at the time. Now that I think about it, if I'm not mistaken.
Right.
So in
any event, next up, Ghost Rider turns 50. I'm 50. And Marvel declares 2022 the year of vengeance. Marvel teases the return of Ghost Rider ahead of this anniversary, labeling 2022, as I said, the year of vengeance, and promising a new series. The publisher released a teaser image featuring Johnny Blaze and the many different incarnations of Ghost Rider with the accompanying text, the year of vengeance. The teaser image was by Ryan Stegman. This is a celebration of, this signals a celebration of the franchise in 2022. Marvel also announced that it will be releasing a new Ghost Rider ongoing series next year to coincide with the anniversary. This will be the first Ghost Rider series since Ed Brisson ended his run on the character during the King in Black crossover event. Other characters shown in the image include the prehistoric Ghost Rider of 1 million BC, Danny Ketch, Cosmic Ghost Rider, Spirit Rider, Ghost Rider 2099, Vengeance, Robbie Reyes, and Alejandra Jones, among others. Also features the Phantom Rider, and that's it. So yeah, that's basically it. So anyone who's a fan, I actually am a fan of Ghost Rider. So I am mildly excited for this to see where this goes, because we've seen Robbie Reyes. Ghost Rider's never really left our consciousness because we've seen Robbie Reyes in the pages of Avengers. He's kind of played a backseat role, but he's still there on the active roster.
Right. So yeah, I guess this will be somewhat interesting. But the question is, are you a fan of the movies?
Oh no! Oh no! I've never watched any of the movies. I was so annoyed by them.
Oh,
did I ever tell you what Method Man told me about that?
No, please share.
The one time I met Method Man at New York Comic Con, I said, "Hey, what did you know?" This is part of our very brief conversation. So, what did you think of the Ghost Rider movie, the first Ghost Rider movie? It might have been after the second one. I think it was after the first one. I don't know if the second one had come out yet when I spoke to him. He said, "Oh man, they effed that S up."
Yep.
You know,
That makes
and
sense.
I was like, yeah, I agree. I didn't even watch it, and I agree.
I remember watching 20 minutes of the first one, and as soon as he turned into Ghost Rider, I turned the shit off.
Mm.
That could tell you something. That could tell you nothing. Who knows? But that says a lot. I can say, should say, because as Agent 70 say, well, no, I will sit through almost anything.
Was it like a horror thing, or was it just not?
I mean,
Because my understanding is that the origin is relatively faithful. It's just that the story's stupid.
Basically. Yeah, and obviously back, the quality.
And this is to the Johnny Blaze Ghost Rider.
Correct, and it was Nicolas Cage playing said character.
Right. Right.
So all of that putting together, I would still revisit it, and in fact, I probably will at some point because now I have a slightly different tolerance than I did back then for it.
Gotcha.
Excuse me, but obviously it hasn't been anytime soon that they're gonna happen. Regardless, yeah, that it was a whole thing. And again, like
is it on HBO Max?
I believe it is. Yeah.
Oh my goodness!
Both of them might be. I'm not sure about the second one. So yeah,
I may have to dive in and just take one for the team.
You know what? I feel like if we were set up to do like a
Twitch, like a joint watching.
Yes, exactly. If we were set up properly and we could get away with doing that, well, we could still do it an audio version like a treasure edition or a Mystery Science Theater style watching while we're both watching and commenting on it at the same time. We could possibly set up something like that. I'm not promising anything, but I'm just saying that is the thing that could potentially
Oh my gosh, it absolutely is on HBO Max. Oh my goodness.
That would be something I would definitely have to have some drinks for, because holy hell. But like I said, like I was going to say in passing, the quality back then was not great as opposed to, because this was before the MCU, and they really didn't give that much of a fuck about the characters or the story or the budget. There was not much of a budget, you can pretty much tell, for those movies, because it was a different time.
Right. I mean, considering that I'm on a brief hiatus for my anime rewatch, I'm wondering if this isn't the time to jump in and, like I said, take one for the team and see if I can make my way through these Ghost Rider movies.
Well, stay tuned for the answer to that, folks. Moving right along. The death.
I'm looking for where part 2 is streaming.
Yeah, it's probably out there. I don't know. Probably on Hulu or something. Who knows? The Death of Doctor Strange uncovers a new facet to the origin of new Marvel hero White Fox. So this is strange to me because I know it's been teased that there's some sort of mystical nature to this character who is relatively new to the universe. I believe this character came out of a video game. So the fact that they're tying this character in with the Death of Doctor Strange is weird in itself. But anyway,
I would say hold on to that thought. Not necessarily. I think White Fox has some spirit-based power, so I think that's how they're going to tie it in.
Right. Because
and both Ghost Rider movies are on HBO Max.
Yeah, okay, that's what I thought.
Good Lord. Maybe that's how I'll celebrate Halloween, huh? Give myself a fright.
I don't know. I don't know if those will do it for you, but sure, they'll definitely be scared.
Well, when I say fright, I mean fright at what on earth Hollywood was thinking with putting Nicolas Cage in the motorcycle seat.
Well, we know he was a big fan. Obviously, we know because he's a big fan of the property and really, really wanted to.
And comics, right?
Right. So that was the impetus behind that. Doesn't mean just because you can do it doesn't always mean that you should.
You should. Yep.
But going back to the White Fox situation, yes, Agent 70 is right by that, and yes, we have seen where this is the case where her origins has some mystical background to it. So, but that still, personally, like I said, still doesn't lend itself to wondering why. Like, obviously she's sensitive, and because of what's going on in Death of Doctor Strange, that's where it all ties in. So I get that part. It's not that I don't. It's just still kind of weird. So anyway, Alyssa Wong returns to write the next White Fox adventure alongside artist Andy Tong and colorist Arif Prianto. Doctor Strange's death has hurled our entire reality into an all-out war and chaos. Magical invaders from countless dimensions descend on Earth. One such threat will change the life of Ami. Is it Ami or Amy? I'm going to assume it's Amy, not Ami. And I keep saying Ami because of Sailor Moon. Don't worry about that. AKA White Fox in a huge way. Marvel editor Tom Groneman said, where the death of Doctor Strange, White Fox was announced. So yeah, as it says here, White Fox is the last of her kind, the last of her magical shifting beings known as the Kumiho. Her family,
there it is. There's the tie.
yes, which I do remember, like I said, but it, like I said, there's a weird disconnect even with that to me because of where I know this where this character originally came from out of. Either way, her family, the other Kumiho, are long gone. There's no one else on Earth that knows what it's like to be the White Fox until now. According to Marvel, a series of brutal killings in Seoul paints White Fox as the only possible suspect, and I guess this is, it'll go on there and tie into the death of Doctor Strange some kind of way. Although I feel like this is going to be one of those loosely connected because of, what's happening in the pages or what stemmed out from what happened, after, because of his death, basically. So yeah, there is that. And I believe we have November 24th is when this goes on sale. So I'm sure we'll be talking about that when that happens. Next.
All right. So, this is apropos.
Excellent!
Milligan and Allred's elusive ecstatic spinoff arrives in February 2022. This is a long-delayed spinoff from Marvel Comics. The excellent comes from writer Peter Milligan. That is the title, Excellent. It comes from writer Peter Milligan, artist Michael Allred, and colorist Laura Allred, the creators behind the cult classic X-Men spin-off title, Ecstatics. The Excellent is an ongoing series that was originally announced over 2 years ago, pre-pandemic, but was delayed indefinitely, leaving many fans to question when it would come out. Now the wait is nearly over, and readers can look forward to the return of forgotten favorites like You Go Girl, Dupe, Mr. Sensitive, Zeitgeist, Anarchist, and Dead Girl in February 2022. So, as I said earlier,
Excellent!
So yeah, two of those characters, one being, I guess this is where Dupe was introduced in the pages of Ecstatic, correct?
yes,
And I guess Dead Girl also, because I think isn't she still around in New Mutants? Is that the same?
I think so. I mean, ultimately, some of these characters have seen, as you said, Dupe, and I think Dead Girl as well, have seen appearances, obviously thanks to Krakoa. So presumably that's how all these characters come back.
Sure. Yeah, all right. Iron Fist quits being a superhero in Marvel TV. We talked about this before the show.
Yes.
Marvel Comics has announced that Danny Rand is seemingly hanging up his tights and calling it quits as the immortal Iron Fist. A new tease from the publisher was released online earlier today, and that actually I believe was today as of this recording. That reads Iron Fist No More, February 2022. Featuring a piece of art that directly homages the iconic Amazing Spider-Man number 50 cover, where Peter Parker was Spider-Man No More, of course. Further details about the storyline, such as the writer and the artist team that will bring it to life, were not disclosed. But as we approach the full February 2022 solicits, expect a little more. One thing that we can surmise from this, according to this article at least, is that this was already being set up by Marvel Comics in the most recent Iron Fist series, Iron Fist Heart of the Dragon, which I totally haven't finished reading. I think I read the first 2 issues and just kind of... at the conclusion, you know what? I'm not going to go into it because yes, this was written by Larry Hama and David Art Watcher on art. Danny Rand is powerless apparently at the end of this, and some other stuff happens. But I guess I'll go back and finally finish reading this. So I guess that's what lends itself to coming into this right now. So yeah, That's the thing.
Does it say who's writing it?
No. No, it does not. They don't. Apparently, they don't have that information. But I guess we'll find out when the solicits come out.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah. So like I said, we talked about this before the show, and it's kind of funny that this is happening, and whether it needed to happen or not, was a thing. It's not like Iron Fist was like that big of a character. I know Agent 70 kind of surmised it. Well, I don't want to speak for him, but I think remember you saying that it might have had something to do with Shang-Chi.
Well, what some of the negative press or some of the criticism of the Iron Fist Netflix show had to do with the fact that there's definite issues with appropriation when it comes to the Iron Fist character, and it being kind of a stereotypically white man, learning the Asian arts of whatever type of story, where those of us in the know, I mean, some of the criticism involved wanting to cast Danny Rand as an Asian character. I'm like, no, that's actually against the entire part of the point of the story. And in an effort, and while that was a well-meaning effort to try to increase representation, it was short-sighted in my opinion, because Shang-Chi was a few years away, and it was just I think like I said, a short-sighted criticism that just didn't see that Shang-Chi was in the pipeline and on its way as a movie and as a character and as a force in the MCU. But with this, we're starting to see possibly, we don't know. Comics is always giving us the illusion of change, so we don't know for sure how this is going to play out. But we'll see if Marvel decides to court controversy amongst certain people and recast Iron Fist in another, with another character, a new character, hopefully. But we'll see how that goes. I wouldn't mind it being Pei, I'll be honest, because at the end of the day, she is established.
Yes.
But we'll see how that goes.
Right. It'll be another legacy character, and I know some people have quote unquote supposed issues with that for stupid reasons.
And they've already established that the Iron Fist mantle is a mantle.
Exactly.
That gets passed along.
And
there have been previous Iron Fists in the past, and there probably will be in the future.
Right. So, and I guess as this article mentions, and I have thought about myself, whether this will actually stick or not. Like, because it says here, even when Peter calls it quick, he wasn't long in staying away. So, just because Danny is powerless now doesn't mean he couldn't possibly get it back, I guess.
Mm-hmm.
Now I'm actually kind of curious to see how they played that off in that last miniseries. So I will definitely.
It's interesting. I skimmed it. It was interesting. So, but getting back to our next story, She-Hulk #1 variant cover by Artgerm harkens back to the John Byrne days. So this is a variant cover for the new #1 of She-Hulk that is coming out fairly soon, and it is and the cover that we're referencing is Stanley Artgerm Lau actually referencing the cover to She-Hulk #43 from the John Byrne run. So I'm sure Roddy Cat is scrolling down to the image of the two covers next to each other, where you have Stanley Artgerm Lau's cover, variant cover for She-Hulk #1, and the sensational She-Hulk #43 cover by John Byrne.
Obviously, you can see, if you're watching the video versions, you can see both covers and you can see the differences between them. But, an homage is still an homage. So, and it still plays.
Right.
Next up, though, Avengers Forever. Russell Dauterman cover celebrates nearly every Black Widow ever. So let's see. The mini looks of Black Widow get a special showcase on an upcoming variant cover for Avengers Forever. Taking to Twitter, fan favorite Marvel artist Russell Dauterman unveiled his art for the second issue of Avengers Forever. Dauterman will be drawing variants for this series, which focuses on a team of Avengers that come together from different universes. This has happened before, so Yeah. Anyway, his line of covers captures the many different looks worn by various adventures over the years, as well as multiversal premise of the title itself. After a magical Scarlet Witch themed cover for the book's December debut issue, the deadly designs of the Black Widow will be featured on Avengers Forever #2. Again, this is a thing that's happened before. You can see the tweet from Russell Darterman and the image of the various Black Widows throughout time and history and multiversal right there if you're watching the video version.
Next up, the Batman Unburied podcast has cast several new names. DC and Spotify have teamed up to show a darker side of Batman. Really, can it get darker? The final casting news for their brainchild has arrived. In a video released during DC Fandome, the publisher's annual event last week, The Flash's Candace Patton announced that Gina Rodriguez, Sam Witwer, Emmy Raver Lampman, Jim Peary, and Jessica Marie Garcia have all joined the cast of Batman Unburied, a new scripted podcast turning the story of Gotham's Caped Crusader into a psychological thriller. In a new spin on Batman's story. God forbid they actually tell a good Batman story based off of existing mythology, where Bruce Wayne is now a forensic pathologist rather than a billionaire playboy. These 5 new cast members play a number of key roles in the story. Rodriguez joins the cast as Barbara Gordon, daughter of Police Commissioner Jim Gordon, and a superhero operating under the name of the Caped Crusader, while the other members include Witwer as the Harvester, a gruesome cannibalistic serial killer, Raver Lampman as Kell, a medical student assisting Bruce Wayne in his work, Peary as Arnold Flass, a corrupt cop out for his personal gain. That hyphen is in a very bad place in this article. And Garcia as Gordon's partner and friend Renee Montoya. So the already expansive celebrity cast has already includes Winston Duke as Bruce Wayne, Hassan Minaj as the Riddler, Lance Reddick as Thomas Wayne, Tox Olangudoye as Martha Wayne, Jason Isaacs as Alfred, John Rhys Davies as Dr. Hunter, and Ashley Birch as Vicky Vale.
Yeah, so this was if anyone got that reference I just made, then I applaud you. So yeah, this came out. This was announced at DC Fandome. We just didn't get to it last week. So also, I'm sitting here like, wait, forensic pathologist. So he's basically Barry Allen, kinda. Even though Barry Allen was CSI and slightly different.
Yeah, it's a different twist on it though. Yeah. But yeah, that's whatever.
Next up though.
I am not the target demographic for this.
Yeah, I guess, yeah, basically, because that's
I'm a podcast listener. We're podcast producers.
Yeah,
but the scripted podcasts are, a way for these creators to kind of stretch their wings when it comes to creating in the world of this the sandbox of licensed characters. So
right.
It's I appreciate it, but at the same time, people are still telling relatively fresh Batman stories with the same idea of Batman's origin.
Sure. And yeah, obviously, Marvel's been doing their thing with these scripted podcasts with the Wolverine and other stuff. And, so yeah, sure. Somebody's listening to them. Nubia writer confirms trans Amazons are part of Wonder Woman's culture. This comes from Nubia and Amazon's #1 kind of well, not kind of, but it does. But anyway, writer Stephanie Williams confirmed that Wonder Woman's home of the Masira has trans Amazons, and that one of them will play an important role in Nubia and the Amazons. If you've read Nubia and the Amazons #1, you kind of get a hint of that already. In a series of tweets, Williams confirmed the popular fan theory that the character of Bia is a trans woman. In her own words, the answer to your burning question is yes. There are trans Amazons. One of the numerous Amazons is a black trans woman. This news coincides with the celebration of Wonder Woman's 80th anniversary and comes only days after the launch of Nubia and the Amazons #1, which we talked about last week on the show, which features Bia's first appearance. In this issue, she's one of the 5 new Amazons to be introduced to Themyscira after being reborn through the Well of Souls. So, yeah, confirmed. Nice. And I would say read that book because it's actually pretty good. Period. Last but not least,
Wonder Woman Historia, the Amazons debuts mind-bogglingly lush early preview. So this is an early preview of the upcoming Wonder Woman Historia, the Amazons #1. According to a press release from DC, the series will explore the ancient history of the Amazons and add on to the Wonder Woman mythos and world. The series was originally set to debut on October 19th, but was pushed back to its current release date of November 30th. According to the creators, this is a book for fans to dive into the vast mythology that surrounds Wonder Woman and the Amazons, as well as their popularity in the modern world. Okay, so this book is very much a conversation between Phil and me talking about these characters and what makes them resonant today, said writer Kelly Sue DeConnick. They wanted to do a Homeric epic with a woman at the center. They took all the language and iconography that they're used to in stories about men as heroes and put women at the center. Okay, so this is the Phil she's referring to is artist Phil Jimenez.
Mm-hmm. So yeah, Kelly Sue DeConnick's writing Wonder Woman, I believe, again. Actually, I don't think she's written them before. So cool.
Oh, so this is a DC Black Label book. So this is going to be like oversized and extra, extra priced probably.
$7.99 US, 72 pages.
There it is.
And actually, it's 1 of 3 because apparently,
the solicitation information says 1 of 3, like you said.
And goes on sale 10/19. Wait.
Oh no! Now it's November, whatever. That's the old solicitation information.
Right.
Yeah,
So,
it's been pushed to November 30th.
That's right. So yeah. Nah, and that's it, folks. For the news, and that's it for this particular show. Let me do some little bit switching here back to just 2-shot real quick. So before we get into the ad read, real quick, I didn't spring this on by hat. Excuse me. So much disarray in this room. So sad. I got a very quick toy corner, actually.
I kind of laughed. I just realized we're both using John Wick 3.
I saw
background.
that earlier. Yeah, I know. I noticed that.
I didn't even realize that this entire show.
Like I realized that about a good 10-15 minutes ago. I was like, huh, interesting. So
I just like the fact that this is a real corner in Chinatown in Manhattan in New York City. So
right. So yeah, real quick toy corner news. It's not comic book related, but you know what? I got a new Funko Pop. It's Aaliyah, and here it is. It's all in its glory. These things were kind of hard to find, but apparently they got a restock back at where I bought it from, and I won't say the name of where I got it from because they are not a sponsor.
They're not a sponsor.
That is not the only reason why I'm not saying it, but hey, it's a place where you would get such things. Okay, you know what?
Because at first you don't succeed.
Exactly. Just so exactly. I've also side note. I've also been getting a very side note, and has nothing to do with anything we've been talking about. But I've been getting into Pokemon the card game because apparently there's a resurgence, and that was a thing that was after my time, actually, not before, because for you young little Jimmies and Jimettes. But nevertheless, that will go into our next ad read, which I will be looking up for some more Pokemon cards. So
there it is. Our last ad read of the night is for Amazon. Keep our podcast free by shopping at Amazon. Visit cspn.us and click the Keep Our Podcast Free link at the top of the page. From there, scroll down and click on the Amazon link to shop. Purchase items from Amazon as you normally would, whether it's books, music, electronics, jewelry, apparel, or Pokemon-related things. for every purchase made on Amazon through our link. Make sure to go to our link. Amazon sends the CSPN a payment that helps us keep the Comic Book Chronicles podcast free for our listeners at no extra cost to you. Amazon.com through CSPN.us. Do it today. Also, if you shop at Amazon often, bookmark the link or add it as your homepage so that you can help the CSPN each time you order. We thank you for your support.
Well, that's a new part of that.
That's just the additional part that I never read. It's the optional part I never read.
Oh, gotcha. And what's actually kind of funny because during these times of pandemic, there has been a lot of Amazon purchases, as I've talked to with a friend of mine, and a lot of people have been using Amazon, much to the chagrin of the big corporate waste that is Amazon. But
much to their delight,
exactly.
but much to the chagrin of the local stores that we would normally be frequenting.
Exactly. And that being said, yeah, there's probably gonna be a winner, but I also keep forgetting to use our very own link for said purchases, which is what I'm trying to get at. That is a shameful admission. But you don't think about it when you're doing impulse buys. But anyway, folks, we have come to the end of another exciting episode of this here comic book podcast. I guess one note to note right now is that we will be on movie protocol next week because Eternals is coming out.
Yes.
Agent 70
So stay.
has his tickets.
Oh no, go ahead. No, yes, I do have my tickets.
Yes, Agent 70 has his tickets. I teetering on whether I'm going to go because I can't say I'm having the same issue that I did with Shang-Chi because knowing both of them were going to be theater only. And coming to find out that Shang-Chi wasn't not going to hit Disney Plus when we thought it was going to. It was kind of a wrinkle that I wasn't expecting.
Right.
So
Shang-Chi's not going to be on Disney Plus for another several weeks.
Correct. No, it's gonna be on there on Disney Plus Day, November 12th.
Right.
So yeah, which is obviously a couple of weeks after this. So we'll see, but definitely I could do a show low. I'm not making any promises on that. I may actually go see it myself. I don't even know what's going on. I'm still not in a going out to the movie theaters with other people type situation.
Right. The level of comfort differs, and especially depending on your location and locale. So I definitely understand where Roddy Cat is coming from with this. At least here in New York City, in order to get into a theater, you have to show proof of vaccination. Mm-hmm. So, there's some level of comfort there, but it's not, it's obviously not 100% pre-pandemic levels. Ultimately, just pay attention to our social medias to see if we will be recording, if Roddy Cat will be going solo that Thursday evening, if you want to watch live, or if we're going to be going Friday or Saturday after. So just pay attention to that and we'll let you know.
Absolutely. And on that note, I have been Roddy Cat. You can find me at Roddy Cat on Twitter. You can find me at News Need on Twitter. You can find me at CBCaps on Instagram, which I totally need to be updating, and I probably will do it for some stuff from this week because there was some good art in this week's books. Agent_70, speaking of art, you can find him at Twitter at Agent_70 and Twitter and also Instagram at the same name.
Yeah, I fell behind on October due to a little bit of artist block and some busyness. So I should be caught up by this weekend when Inktober ends. So catch me on Instagram at Agent_70.
PCN_dirt on Twitter, PopCultureNet on Twitter, PopCultureNet.com and his umbrella sites therein. Tim DOGG98, the Osiris Odysseus. You can find him at Tim DOGG98 on Twitter. You can find him at CB Chron on Twitter, which is the Comic Book Chronicles Twitter account. You can find him on the Click Nation Twitter account. But you can definitely find him at comicbook.com. Almost slipped up there because he has a new job, but he's still writing his face off. Or at least we'll be starting to, because I don't think he's
No, he's active.
Is he? I haven't seen any articles.
I just saw him.
Oh, have you? You
Mhm.
need to slide me one real quick then, or at some point. So,
Yeah, I will.
because I went looking earlier and I was like, I didn't see any. But regardless, find them at comicbook.com. Thank you. You can find this here podcast on the Coastal Podcast Network. That's cspn.us.
Do it today.
You can also find us recording. Well, excuse me. You can also find us on your podcast producer place of choice, whether it be Google Play, Apple iTunes, aka Apple Podcasts, Spotify, or the Coastal Podcast Network SoundCloud page. You can find us recording every Thursday, with exception of next week, like I said, on the YouTube channel of The Click Nation. That's youtube.com/The Click Nation. And twitch.tv/Comic Book Chronicles. Thank you. So yeah, like I said, stay tuned to social media to find out whether there's going to be, when there's going to be a show next week, because there will be one, just probably not on Thursday.
Yes.
Unless I decide to do one solo. We will see. But on that note, folks, this has been the comic. Oh wait, sorry. So just a couple of days before for Halloween. Happy Halloween to those who celebrate. I know people that have been kind of celebrating all month for
Yes.
So there is that. So yeah, get you some candy. Make sure you go out the day after and get you some half price candy. You know the vibes. But yeah, like I said, this has.
I think you can get that half price candy right now.
Yeah, actually, I think I have seen people doing just that. From various outlets. So yeah, don't eat too much. Be safe. All that kind of good jazz. If you plan on going out and doing whatever, because I know there are probably Halloween parties going on right now,
right?
Or at least going into this weekend. So
yeah, they're going to be all. They're going to basically span tonight. This is we're recording Thursday night, Thursday, Friday, Saturday, and Sunday.
Yep. But like I was saying, this has been the Comic Book Chronicles. Peace.
Peace. One.
My time is up. Peace out to Brooklyn.